Hey, Sova, we're gonna hit the chessboard after this, yeah?
You lack the patience, friend. Learn that first, then we'll approach strategy.
Kevin and his crew were turned away at the door, Spatzel being allowed inside. With helps from Chains of Desire's costume designer, Deborah Losi, the rest of the group successfully snuck into the gala as part of the catering staff, all of whom wore costumes. Designed as Charlie Chaplin, Kevin overheard Atticus bragging about his plan to take over Eminent Studios. But the biggest shock for Kevin came when Helen O'Day made an announcement to introduce her dear friend, Dominic Archer, to the room. The applause reached a fever pitch after Helen announced Dominic's sizable donation. Kevin, however, wasn't excited as the rest of the crowd. Kevin had a long history with Dominic Archer and his sister Gwen from their days in Chicago when all were trying to establish their empires. Dominic's business tactics were shady, to say the least, though Gwen had carved out a legitimate business overseeing Gwendom, one of the city's largest real estate concerns. But after Kevin's secret investment in Orion Group made him fabulously wealthy almost overnight, Kevin soon eclipsed his rivals in both sheer wealth and influence in Chicago. And that had not gone down well with either Dominic or Gwen, who had seethed with jealousy and anger. It couldn't be a coincidence that his former rival was now also in Hollywood and connected with Helen O'Day, the studio executive overseeing Kevin's movie. Helen also had a decoy Lumiere film reel in her office. Kevin wasn't a believer in coincidences, and all of these facts were adding up, in his mind, to danger. He was surely becoming the object of some plot or scheme, and he would have to find out exactly what it was before he was caught off guard. Between Atticus, Eminence, the Stuntman Guild, Sympathy, and now Dominic Archer all attending this event tonight, Kevin could feel his enemies closing in all around him. And he had a sneaking suspicion that the Pinnacle was connected to all of it somehow. The clock was ticking for him to get to the upper realm, literally. Kevin looked up to see that the giant clock from Back to the Future had been affixed to the wall. Kevin inched away from this unwelcome reminder that time was short as he was suddenly confronted by Penelope, one of the Sympathy Flower Girls. With some desperation seeping into her usually dreamy voice, she pleaded, "I know who you are. I need your help." Kevin stammered, fearing he had been busted, and by a spacey flower girl of all people. But Penelope gripped his arm and said, "Please, Mr. Chaplin, I love all your movies and I need a laugh." Relieved that she at least wasn't privy to his real identity and was actually playing along with the party theme, Kevin was about to give an excuse to get out of entertaining her. He was meant to be passing appetizers after all. But the catering manager snatched his tray away from him. "Was this not clear at orientation?" the catering manager demanded. "When a guest wants a performance, you perform." Having no choice, Kevin added physicality to his Charlie Chaplin impression. He did it on roller skates. He mimed taking a sip of Penelope's drink while she clapped in delight. A small crowd started gathering as Kevin began to waddle in Charlie Chaplin's goofy style while gliding on his skates. He performatively flailed his arms, running in place as if he was about to fall, but then smoothly regained his balance as the crowd applauded in approval. Kevin skated off, using the whole dome as his performance space. He tried to use the opportunity to skate past Helen and Dominic and catch pieces of their conversation, but as the crowd's cheers grew louder, it became nearly impossible to hear. Kevin heard snippets of phrases like, "won't know you're here," and "keep an eye on him." There was no way to know for sure whether they were talking about him, but Kevin knew that nothing about this partnership would mean good news for him. Kevin ended his routine with a perfect leap and spin, prompting the loudest cheer yet. He returned to Penelope, who threw her arms around him. "Thank you, Mr. Chaplin," she exclaimed. Kevin wasn't entirely sure whether this girl knew he wasn't the real thing. But Penelope didn't seem concerned either way as she started to cry.
Spike down.
"I'm sorry," she said between sniffs. "I know I'm supposed to be happy all the time." Kevin started to really feel for Penelope, even though she had just flirted inappropriately with him recently during a casting session for Cleopatra. "No one is supposed to be happy all the time," he told her. Penelope looked at him like he was speaking nonsense. "I am," she insisted. "That's the rule." Kevin wondered what rule Penelope could be referring to when she continued. "But I'm so sad about my friend Hazel. One day she was just gone. I was supposed to forget about her. Sometimes they tell me I made her up, but I know I didn't." Kevin leaned in. This was the first time anyone involved with sympathy had admitted to knowing Hazel. "Who's they?" Kevin asked, even though he had a pretty good idea. Right on cue, Lance approached with his sympathy entourage, Madame Spatzel, Audrey, Ryder, and more flower girls. Madame Spatzel, not recognizing Kevin, eyed him with disgust. "British weirdo," she said. "What's the point of being in a movie if you're not going to talk?" Lance ignored Kevin altogether while focusing his attention on his crying flower girl. "Penelope, what's wrong?" Lance asked. "You're always happy, remember?" To Kevin, this sounded more like an instruction than an observation. "I miss Hazel," Penelope said between tears. "Oh, Penelope," Lance said in a fatherly tone, enveloping her in a comforting embrace. "We all miss Hazel. She was a light in our lives. But if you're still struggling, maybe you and I should schedule a private session." Kevin saw Penelope look to Lance with gratitude, though it seemed mixed with maybe a little fear. Kevin also couldn't help but notice Madame Spatzel was showing some jealousy towards Penelope for being offered this private session. Ryder approached Penelope and put his arm around her almost possessively, pulling her out of Lance's grasp. "I know how much Hazel meant to you, sweetheart, but you know the rest of us are always here for you. I'm always here for you." The way Ryder stared into Penelope's eyes, Kevin couldn't help but wonder if he had feelings for her, even though Madame Spatzel was standing feet away. The only one who didn't jump in to comfort Penelope was Audrey. She didn't look compassionate or annoyed. She wasn't displaying any particular emotion at all. She was completely unreadable. Kevin knew she was a great actress. Whatever she was thinking or feeling, she was hiding it well. But one thing was for sure, though the sympathy group had insisted to Kevin and Lily that they never met anyone named Hazel. They dropped that facade when they believed they were in private. There was no doubt that this group knew Hazel and was aware of her disappearance. So what were they hiding? Madame Spatzel also seemed confused. "So now we say we did know Hazel. I can't keep track." Lance suddenly snapped. "Enough about Hazel. She's gone. She's not coming back. She and Toto went back to Kansas. Can we move on now?" The about face was jarring to Kevin, though none of the sympathy group seemed fazed by Lance's erratic mood swing. Penelope obediently said, "Yes, Lance." Is Lance's outburst the result of the brain rehydration? Kevin wondered. He did the procedure as an emergency measure and wasn't exactly sure of the long-term effects. Either way, Lance definitely didn't seem happy that Hazel remained a topic of conversation. At that moment, Jericho, dressed like Edward Scissorhands, whispered to Kevin, "Mr. Chaplin, you need to refill your tray." Jericho pulled Kevin to the side, poking him in the arm with one of the spikes on his hands. "Ow!" Kevin yelled. "I've been scoping out the place," Jericho said under his breath. "There are stuntmen and security guards everywhere. How are we ever going to get the film reel with no one seeing, let alone get it out of here?" One by one, Kevin's group dropped in on their conversation, sharing their ideas while still keeping others. "We could cut a hole in the floor and have the whole display case drop down," Sandra suggested while twirling by in her Marilyn Monroe wig and sequin dress. "We won't be able to do that kind of drilling without drawing attention to ourselves," Kevin responded. "I'm already dressed as Catwoman," Adriana said while slinking by. "Why don't I just steal the film in plain sight as part of a performance?" "Not bad," Kevin replied, "but I don't think they'll willingly let anyone get their hands on that reel no matter who you're dressed as." Emo walked up to them swishing his sword, having way too much fun playing Zorro. "Why don't we just detach the globe from its supports and roll the whole thing away?" Kevin and Jericho stared at him. You mean this whole room? With 1,000 people inside? Kevin asked. Having all these people here is an issue no matter what, Jericho observed. Unless we just want to smash and grab and make a run for it. Your solution to everything is smash and grab, Kevin said with a laugh. But you're right, we need to get rid of this crowd. Looking around, he added, time for a little movie inspiration. What do you mean? Jericho asked as Kevin skated over to the wall. An ode to my favorite scene in any of the Lethal Weapon movies, Kevin said with a smile. Without another word, Kevin reached for the fire alarm and pulled. Bells rang, sprinklers doused the room, and 1,000 black tie-wearing Hollywood insiders ran drenched and screaming for the exit.
Last player standing.
With many of Kevin's enemies at the gala honoring the Lumiere brothers, including Eminence, Atticus, Sympathy, the Stuntmen's Guild, and even a surprise appearance by Dominic Archer, Kevin and his team tried to strategize a way to steal the film reel which Kevin needed in order to find the portal to the upper realm. When Jericho pointed out that all of their ideas would be foiled by the huge crowd watching their every movie, Kevin pulled the fire alarm, activating the sprinklers and sending the attendees screaming for the exits. That'll work, Jericho said as partygoers in drenched Versace gowns and Balenciaga suits sloshed towards the exit. As the chaos unfolded around them, Kevin quietly told his team, we're not going to have much time. We need to bar the doors. As the last of the attendees trickled from the room, Madame Spatzel grabbed a bottle of whiskey from the bar on her way out. Kevin, Jericho, Emo, Sandra, and Adriana made use of the film props staged around the venue. Sandra and Adriana wedged a lightsaber and a Harry Potter broomstick behind the handles of the side doors, while Emo and Jericho blocked the main doors at the front of the dome with Bruce the Shark from Jaws. Kevin, meanwhile, began examining the glass case in the center of the room holding the Lumiere brothers' film reel. Jericho approached and held up one of his scissor hands. Should I start punching? He asked. The reel needs to stay inside the case, Kevin responded. It's too fragile to risk exposing it to the moisture and impurities in the air. So what's the plan? Jericho asked. We're not going to be able to just carry this whole display out. It's got to weigh hundreds of pounds. 400, Kevin replied. But we don't need to worry about carrying it. What do you... Jericho was interrupted by the loud whir of helicopter blades. The group looked up to see one of the news helicopters had broken away from the pack and was positioning itself over the center of the dome. Too close, Adriana yelled. It's supposed to be, Kevin replied with a smile. Suddenly, the side of the helicopter swung open, revealing Dalton Steele, Kevin's longtime friend and ally from his Chicago days. It wasn't a news helicopter at all. Kevin had arranged the whole thing. Adriana laughed as she took in Kevin's latest instance of always being 2 steps ahead. One of these days I won't be so surprised, she said. We need to open the skylight of the dome so Dalton can lift the display through the roof, Kevin exclaimed. Jericho, when you were scoping out the venue earlier, did you find the control room? Jericho led the group to a small room off to the side of the venue. Inside were the controls to automate every state-of-the-art aspect of the dome. Music, lighting, projectors, security, and the skylight. Can you hack into the system? Kevin asked Adriana as she sat down in front of the main console. Adriana tapped a few keys and replied, Well, I've definitely never seen a security system like this. It's not asking for a passcode. Kevin looked at the screen and saw a short clip of The Godfather playing without any sound. It looks like it's just a screensaver, Adriana said, but I'm not sure how to move past it. As Kevin leaned in closer, he said, It's just the clip of Don Corleone saying, I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. There was a light ding sound and the clip flashed from the screen. A message popped up that read, Passcode 1 of 3 unlocked. So we just need to say the famous movie line being shown in the clips, Sandra asked. Clever, Adriana mused and continued. Even if not the most sophisticated means of security. The next clip that popped up was from Jaws. I know this one, Sandra cried. We're gonna need a bigger boat. The screen flashed red with a message that said, Fail. One more attempt. We can't get this wrong, Adriana said urgently. The entire system will lock down and probably alert law enforcement if we get another error. I know that was right, Sandra insisted. I've seen that movie 100 times. You were close, Kevin said calmly. As the clip restarted, he leaned and said, You're gonna need a bigger boat. The screen flashed green and the group exhaled a collective sigh of relief. Only one to go. The next clip that began to play was much longer than the other two. It was an entire monologue. A performance so chilling that, even without sound, it suddenly felt colder in the control room. The final clip featured none other than Meryl Streep's Oscar-nominated performance as Miranda Priestley in The Devil Wears Prada. Kevin took a deep breath. The clip was over a minute long, and they only had one chance to get it right. I've never seen this movie, he admitted, but I can read lips, so... Kevin was then interrupted by Emo's commanding voice. This stuff? Emo began as the group turned to watch him. Oh, okay, I see. You think this has nothing to do with you. Kevin, Adriana, Sandra, and Jericho watched with dropped jaws while Emo perfectly matched Meryl's timing in the clip, describing the origin of the color cerulean and giving Anne Hathaway a lesson in fashion with a perfect imitation of Meryl's quiet disdain. With a flourish, Emo concluded, You're wearing a sweater that was selected for you by the people in this room from a pile of stuff. The group was stunned into silence as the computer's anticlimactic ding cut the tension. Well done, Emo, Kevin said as they were granted access to the computer's mainframe. Kill the sprinklers, but keep the alarms going, Kevin instructed Adriana, and open the skylight. Kevin, Jericho, and Emo rushed back into the dome as the sprinklers turned off and the giant skylight overhead began to retract. Above them, Dalton had rigged a crane to the helicopter, but the wind swirling around the chopper made it too difficult for him to center the crane over the hole left by the skylight. We have to help him lower the crane, Kevin concluded. Eyeing Jericho's scissors hands, Kevin said, Emo, climb up with me. Using the floor-to-ceiling Lumiere Brothers banners that hung from the rafters, Kevin and Emo shimmied their way up to the ceiling. When they were about halfway up, the Mission Impossible theme song began blasting from the surround sound speakers. Adriana popped her head out of the control room. Sorry, couldn't help myself. Kevin and Emo finished the climb and hauled themselves onto the roof as Dalton returned in the chopper to make another pass with the crane. As Dalton carefully lowered the helicopter and with the crane hovering just above them over the skylight, Kevin jumped from his position on the edge of the skylight opening and successfully landed on the crane's metal bars. Emo, however, slipped from where he had been waiting on the opposite side of the skylight and began to slide down the dome, a fall that would prove deadly if he was allowed to reach the ground. Kevin used his momentum to swing the crane across the skylight and grabbed Emo's arm just before he fell out of reach. Emo caught his breath as he and Kevin rode the crane down to the floor. Remind me to freak out later about almost dying, Emo said. Got it, Kevin replied. When they reached the ground, the group got to work affixing the crane to the display case with the Lumiere Brothers film reel inside. Don't rush this, Kevin instructed as they rigged the crane. The weight of this display is going to push the crane to its capacity. If we cut corners, the rigging may not hold. At that moment, they started hearing banging and shouting outside all the exits. The lightsaber, broomstick, and Bruce the Shark, which were being used to keep the doors shut, all strained against the pressure being applied from the other side of the doors. Okay, maybe rush a little bit, Kevin amended himself. The banging grew louder as the group clipped in the final sections of a giant harness around the display case. Kevin jumped on top of the display, and though he was still dressed as Charlie Chaplin, yelled up to Dalton in a perfect Arnold Schwarzenegger impression, "Get to the chopper!" The group held their collective breath as the helicopter began lifting skyward. The rigging creaked and strained as the heavy display resisted leaving the ground. But finally, with a great lurch, the display case detached from the floor and began to rise. On the ground, Adriana, Sandra, Emo, and Jericho let out elated cheers as they watched Kevin and the display case lift toward the chopper. But their celebration was short-lived. Just as the display case cleared the skylight, Sergio and the Stuntmen's Guild finally burst through the main doors and pushed past Bruce the Shark. Though Sergio and his team might have come just a moment too late, the anger on their faces meant that they weren't going to let Kevin make off with the valuable film easily. The fight was surely looming.
Cover going out.
30 seconds left.
After successfully sneaking his team into the gala honoring the Lumiere brothers at the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, Kevin put into action his plan to steal the Lumiere brothers film strip featured in the glass display in the center of the room. He cleared out the event by pulling the fire alarm, and the team hacked into the museum's computer system. They opened up the skylight in the dome, allowing Dalton Steele, who had been hiding in plain sight among the news helicopters, to hover a crane directly over the film strip display. The team rigged the display to the crane, and Kevin rode the crane back up to the helicopter, just as Sergio and the Stuntmen's Guild broke down the barricaded doors. Kevin, sitting atop the crane holding the Lumiere film's display case, was about halfway to the helicopter when Sergio and the jaws. Sergio's eyes burned as he pointed toward Kevin. "Get him!" he yelled to the stuntmen. The stuntmen charged, some going straight for Kevin, some running to the walls to attempt the climb. Kevin's team back on the ground, Jericho, Emo, Adriana, and Sandra sprang into action. Jericho, once a member of the Stuntmen's Guild himself, began slicing and dicing his former colleagues with his scissor hands. Emo proved himself to be pretty handy with his Zorro sword. Adriana really got into character in her Catwoman costume after sneaking back to the control room to change the music to Eye of the Tiger. She re-entered the fight, creeping up behind stuntmen and tripping them with dramatic leg sweeps. Meanwhile, Sandra, dressed as Marilyn Monroe, conked one stuntman over the head with an Academy Award she took from a display. But none of them was able to stop Sergio, who grabbed the sword from a life-size replica of Captain Jack Sparrow and, holding it in his teeth, leapt onto one of the gala banners and began climbing toward the ceiling, hoping to cut Kevin off from delivering the film reel to the chopper. But Kevin had too much of a head start. The crane reached the chopper and Kevin jumped inside to grab additional harnessing equipment. "Nice outfit," Dalton said dryly while taking in Kevin's Charlie Chaplin costume. Kevin tipped his hat and grabbed harnesses and ropes. Kevin swung back down below the chopper and got the display more firmly secured for the flight through the skies of Hollywood. Kevin then lowered himself down through the skylight onto the ceiling rafters and watched as Dalton flew away with the film reel. He exhaled with relief. Despite all odds, Kevin had walked into an event populated by his enemies and managed to extract a crucial piece of the puzzle to access the upper realm. Maybe even the final piece. But Kevin's worries weren't over as Sergio reached the rafters. He held Captain Jack Sparrow's sword out in front of him and, as he inched closer to Kevin, said, "That's a lot of trouble to go through to steal a film you won't live to see." "Kevin!" Kevin looked down to see Adriana calling to him. "May the Force be with you," she yelled as she tossed the lightsaber up to Kevin. Kevin caught the weapon but looked down with disappointment at what was ultimately just a foot-long piece of metal. "I don't know how much this is actually going to help me up here," he thought. But then Kevin felt a powerful wave of energy flow through him, and the lightsaber buzzed to life. "Whoa!" Kevin said as he felt the weight of the now fully functioning space laser in his hand. He didn't have time to worry about whether it was his level 7 powers or some other force that brought the lightsaber to life. He merely got into a fighting stance and prepared for battle. Down below saw an Oscar statue to snap a picture on her phone of Charlie Chaplin 30 feet in the air preparing to fight with a lightsaber while on roller skates. Sandra knew this was the kind of picture that would be perfect in the hallways of the Williams media offices in Chicago. Up on the rafters, Sergio glanced at Kevin's feet and laughed. "You maybe should have changed out of the skates." He advanced towards Kevin, swinging Jack Sparrow's sword so that it collided with the lightsaber. As they parried along the rafters, some of Kevin's team and the stuntmen below couldn't help themselves from pausing their own fights to watch. Kevin expertly used the toe brake at the front of the skate to push himself backward until he reached a support beam at the end of the rafter. "Cute move," Sergio said mockingly. "But now you have nowhere to go." He charged at Kevin, and Kevin pushed himself off from the support beam, and just before reaching Sergio, swung under the rafter, gripping it with his legs like a sloth so that the wheels on his skates spaced up. Without enough time to react, Sergio slipped on the wheels, launching himself in the air and taking a hard landing on the rafter right on his crotch. Ugh! Everyone watching from the floor exclaimed, the men particularly cringing. Kevin swung himself back onto the rafter and used Sergio's injury as an opportunity to skate back over to the Lumiere banner. He gracefully slid down the banner and rejoined his team on the ground. The fight was back on. The stuntmen threw everything they had at Kevin's team. Though Kevin, Emo, Jericho, Sandra, and Adriana all deftly fought them off using their weapons of choice, they wouldn't be able to keep it up indefinitely. There were just too many stuntmen. The guild members encircled Kevin's team, and as they closed in, Emo, defeat creeping into his voice, said, "It looks like this is the end." "I wouldn't be so sure about that," Kevin said with a smile. The stuntmen whipped their heads around to see a squadron of firefighters entering the dome. "We were alerted to an emergency here," the firefighter at the front declared. The stuntmen, momentarily frozen in confusion, weren't prepared when the lead firefighter walked up and punched one of them in the face. They weren't firefighters at all. They were a squad from the Radiants led by the group's earliest member, Troy Evans, whom Kevin had on standby all along. Adriana, who had already been stunned by Kevin's ability to be 2 steps ahead during this mission, laughed and shook her head. "Yup, one of these days I won't be surprised, but today is not that day." The fighting resumed, with Kevin's side finally on an even playing field. Radiance members and stuntmen grabbed the remaining props from around the room to use as weapons. A stuntman swung the leg lamp from A Christmas Story only for a Radiance member to fling it away using Indiana Jones's whip. The sword from Kill Bill clanged against Captain America's shield. Jericho got into a high-stakes scratch fight with a stuntman who had donned Wolverine's blades. Sandra, spotting the Beretta pistol from Die Hard, kicked it out of the view of the stuntman. Sergio finally made his way back down from the rafters and once again charged at Kevin with Jack Sparrow's sword. Without the added difficulty of skating on the rafters, Kevin handily outmatched Sergio with his lightsaber. In an attempt to give himself extra firepower, Sergio tried to grab Thor's hammer off a nearby table. It wouldn't budge. With another swing of the lightsaber, Kevin got Sergio to lose his footing and he fell to the floor. Kevin had him pinned. But then Sergio spotted the Die Hard pistol under the table next to him. He grabbed the pistol and pointed it directly at Kevin. "You shouldn't have brought a lightsaber to a gunfight," he said wryly. Thinking fast, Kevin grabbed Thor's hammer, which he was able to lift with ease. He flung it towards Bruce the shark, who had been propped up against the wall, knocking it from its perch so that it crashed down on top of Sergio, perfectly capturing him in its hungry jaws. Having disposed of the stuntman's most vicious fighter, Kevin's team and Radiance made quick work of the rest of the guild members, leaving them all tied up or unconscious. "Ready to get out of here?" the lead firefighter asked Kevin. A few minutes later, the squad of firefighters exited the museum where all the gala attendees who hadn't bailed on the event were still eagerly waiting outside. "All clear," the lead firefighter announced. "It was a false alarm." As the firefighters loaded onto the truck, Madame Spatzel, who wouldn't have missed all this drama in a million years, turned to a catering waiter and forced the stunned lad to tip the bottle of champagne he was holding into her glass. The fire truck wove its way through the city, finally depositing Kevin and his team at Lucia de Mello's house. Dalton had already delivered the display with the film strip to the film historian, knowing that Kevin would need to see it as soon as he arrived. With Lucia's house already prepped with purified air and the proper temperature, Kevin drilled through the glass to the film reel. Kevin reverently held the film reel in his hands. This might be really it. I might finally have everything I need to access the upper realm, Kevin thought. Lucia eagerly fired up the kinetoscope and everyone held their breath as Kevin approached with the film reel. But he stopped short, just as he was about to load it. "This isn't right," he said quietly. "What do you mean?" Emo asked. "After everything you just went through to get it, how can it not be right?" Kevin was on the verge of one of the most important moments in his life and one of the most uncertain. Who knew what would happen actually once he reached the upper realm? "I can't do this here," he said definitively. "Not without Lily. I need to be with her in Chicago. After all," he said with a smile, There's no place like home. Though Kevin was expanding his empire in Hollywood by producing an epic film about Cleopatra that would star his new Williams media client Madame Spatzel, his true goal in Hollywood had finally been achieved. He and his team had managed to steal the fabled Lumiere brothers film, which was on display at a gala. With the final piece of the Lumiere film in his hands, Kevin suddenly realized that he needed to watch it not in the home of film historian Lucia de Mello, but in his home base, Chicago, with his beloved wife, Lily, by his side. The film would lead him to the portal of the upper realm, and there Kevin would work towards distilling his level 7 skills and become a master. Kevin had learned from his many mentors, Wayne Ford, Harley Shepard, Leo Hayes, and especially the Night King, that this was his destiny. But it was also a destiny that held many secrets and mysteries. And Kevin knew that he had to be with Lily when he learned what his next step in achieving his potential would be. Kevin had surprised Lily when he walked in the door. He hadn't even had time to alert her to his return, but she was thrilled to see him, of course, and ran into his arms. There was barely time for the two to catch up on the many events that had occurred in their lives. While Kevin was overseeing the Cleopatra film and trying to unearth the mysteries of the sympathy cult and the evil stuntmen's guild, Lily was fulfilling her potential as the mayor of Chicago, one who was, to the delight of her constituents, pregnant with twins who would be the first children of the city in just a few short months. Neither Kevin nor Lily knew that behind the scenes there were many forces working against them. Now they just rejoiced in being together again. Kevin, though, could never delay in his mission, and his first priority was viewing the Lumiere brothers film that he brought back with him. Kevin was sure that the film would offer the final clue to the portal to the upper realm that he had been searching for so long. Maybe the portal was in the same location where the film was made, or it was possible the film would give him directions to the location of the portal itself. Kevin also knew that it could be neither of those things. He would just have to view the film to find out. Because the Lumiere brothers film was so old, it had been made using a film process that was ancient by modern standards. Kevin went in search of a theater that still had the antiquated technology needed to screen the short movie. He found a tiny silent movie house deep in Chicago's art district that had an ancient creaking projector and a projectionist to match. The projectionist, who was also the owner, was more than happy to rent it out to Kevin on an hourly basis for the very generous fee Kevin offered. The money would allow the owner to replace the roof, reupholster the auditorium seats in velvet, upgrade every piece of technology in the building, starting with the wiring and ending with the 4D IMAX projector, do an earthquake retrofit of the entire building, and replace all the worn gilding on the ceiling with actual gold. In short, Kevin had been his usual generous self when writing a check for the owner. When Kevin told Lily of his plans to view the film at the theater, he was surprised that Lily protested. "Kevin, you were gone for such a long time in Los Angeles, and you've barely been back in Chicago. I would really like to spend some time with my husband." "And your husband would really like to spend some time with you," Kevin told her with a smile. "Why don't you come along with me to watch the short film? It will be just like we're on one of our early dates again." "I remember those dates. It would be fun to relive them," Lily smiled. "Does that mean you'll bring me flowers and meet my mother before you take me out?" "I'm always happy to bring you flowers," Kevin replied, notably omitting any mention of Lily's mother, Dorothy. One of the first times Dorothy met Kevin, she turned to Lily and said, "This isn't right, Lily. At the very least, your date should send his chauffeur to pick you up, not his gardener." Dorothy's dismissing of Kevin had started the instant she saw him for the first time. "But aren't you too busy as mayor of Chicago to play hooky in the middle of the day to see a movie?" Kevin went on to ask Lily. "Actually, my afternoon meetings were canceled at the last minute," Lily replied. "Playing hooky sounds like the perfect thing to do." "Then I'll pick you up at 2 o'clock, Kevin told her. That afternoon, Kevin presented Lily with her favorite flowers, lilies, of course, and ushered her into the car to make the short drive to the theater. Kevin had thoughtfully arranged for the dusty concession stand to be filled with Lily's favorite treats for their special screening. Lily requested popcorn, soda, a hot dog, and candy. "After all, I'm eating for 3 now," Lily told Kevin. They settled into the best seats in the house, and Kevin motioned up to the projector's booth for the proprietor to begin the show. The lights dimmed and the movie began with a silvery flickering light. Despite her sugary treats, Lily fell asleep almost instantly. Kevin, on the other hand, was instantly riveted. Kevin felt the world around him fall away as if he was floating in a black, still void, with only the images before him. And then slowly the movie images seemed to double and triple, spreading out all around him until they filled his vision in every direction. At the same time, Kevin felt his consciousness expanding, reaching out, reaching through the images, and becoming one with the pictures. Kevin felt he was getting very close to something while remaining perfectly still. The feeling of motion coupled with being at rest reminded him of the rack focus effect, sometimes used in movies where a background would seem to push in or expand out even though a character was standing perfectly still. All at once, it occurred to Kevin that the portal to the upper realm was not a physical location. It was not a place he could go to on any map. It was beyond the earthly, beyond herbalism, beyond even the levels. The portal to the upper realm was in Kevin's mind. It was a sense of feeling, a sense of being. The realization brought him back to his body, sitting there in the dark beside his beloved Lily. He looked at her, so beautiful and peaceful, sleeping with her head on his shoulder. His love for her swelled in his heart, bringing his sense of the portal to the upper realm closer than ever. Kevin realized that he was almost there, and that his sense of love for Lily was propelling him onward to the portal. He could feel that it was so near. But just then, the short Lumiere Brothers film ended. The silver of the screen faded to an empty white light, and Kevin's sense of the portal faded as it retreated into some inner distance. Lily stirred with a contented sigh as if she had just awoken from the most restful nap ever. "I'm sorry, Kevin. I didn't mean to fall asleep. Did I miss the whole movie?" "You didn't miss much," Kevin assured her. "But if you still have time, the projectionist told me he has an original print of Casablanca he could screen for us." "Yes, please," Lily snuggled closer to Kevin. "You know how much I love Casablanca." Kevin retreated to his study once he and Lily returned home. Lily still had some work to do for her meetings as mayor of Chicago the next day. Kevin felt he needed to process everything he had learned about the portal. He turned on his desk light to take a few notes, but then noticed that the light took on an eerie blue shimmer. That could only mean one thing. Kevin looked up at his office. "Good evening, Night King. I expected a visit from you." The Night King stepped from the gloom at the far end of the office. "You were closer to the portal to the upper realm today than ever, Kevin Williams. Why did you retreat at the last minute?" "I didn't retreat," Kevin told the Night King. "I now know really a state of mind, a state of being. I was so close, but I just couldn't quite get there." "This is a problem that many have in reaching their portal," the Night King confirmed. "You must try harder. At which point did you feel like you were closest to the portal?" Kevin considered. "I was closest to the portal when I was also feeling closest to my darling wife, Lily." "Then that is what you need more of in order to reach the upper realm," the Night King informed Kevin. "That feeling of closeness and connection, the love for others that inspires you to face danger after danger and still prevail." Kevin instantly knew what he would need in order to reach the upper realm. "Thank you. I'll be able to complete my journey to the upper realm as soon as I'm able to make a few arrangements. It will take me no more than a day. I know how imperative it is that I reach the upper realm as soon as possible so that I may defeat the pinnacle once and for all." "It is not only the dangers in this world that you must be aware of, Kevin Williams," the Night King intoned. "The upper realm becomes more dangerous by the moment. Like a garden where a snake has entered, things are not all as they should be there." But before Kevin could ask questions about the troubles in the upper realm, the Night King had disappeared. Meanwhile, Nancy was meeting with her employer, Juanita Hernandez. Juanita had paid Nancy huge sums of money to fake a pregnancy, now a double pregnancy with twins no less, to get close to Lily and keep an eye on her. Juanita was invested in the health of Lily's twin babies and therefore in the health of Lily herself. It was all part of Juanita's grand scheme of revenge on Kevin for murdering her two sons and leaving her a woman with only anger in her heart. Juanita's butler showed Nancy into a wing of what never seen before. The large room was painted a spotless white. In the center, a double operating theater had been set up, complete with all the latest medical devices, 2 operating tables, and several trays of glittering knives and scalpels. "How do you like it?" Juanita asked Nancy. "It's a little elaborate just for playing doctor," Nancy observed. "I promise you, there's no play about what I had planned for Lily and her babies." Juanita circled the room, smiling. Nancy noticed that Juanita looked particularly good today. Her skin seemed smoother and firmer, the lines and wrinkles around her eyes had retreated, and her hair looked shinier and bouncier than she had ever seen it before. "Whatever new miracle beauty regime you've taken up, it sure is working," Nancy told Juanita. Juanita smiled wider. "It's a specialty hormonal cocktail formulated specifically for my body." Wanting to explain, "For a brief time, it will give me back the body of a 20-something. Of course, it's terribly expensive." Nancy scowled. Nancy hated it when Juanita rubbed her greater wealth in her face. "Well, I hope you enjoy your 20-something body. What are you going to do with it? Stay out clubbing all night?" "No," Juanita scowled. Nancy wasn't showing the respect and awe Juanita had been hoping for. "I'm not going to stay out all night clubbing. I'm going to have twins. To be precise, I'm going to have Lily Williams's twins." Nancy's eyes went wide. She looked from the operating theater to the younger-looking Juanita. "You're not talking about what I think you're talking about, are you?" "That's right." Juanita grinned like a mama shark. "I'm talking about fetal abduction."
You want more? Here's more.
After finally viewing all the assembled pieces of the Lumiere brothers' mysterious film, Kevin realized that the portal to the upper realm is not a geographical location. Instead, it is a state of mind induced by the film itself, coupled with Kevin's feelings of love and connection to others. Kevin made plans to re-watch the film of his nearest and dearest around him, intent on reaching the upper realm as soon as possible, so that he'd be in the best position to defend the Foundation from the Pinnacle and other enemies. However, the Night King warns Kevin again that all is not as it should be in the upper realm, and the journey there will hold its own unique dangers for Kevin. Despite the Night King's warnings, Kevin sent out invitations to all of his friends and to gather with him the next day. At his request, Lily sent out additional invitations to her friends and loved ones as well. Kevin wanted as many people around him as possible, and it only stood to reason that Kevin would feel a strong connection to anyone his darling Lily loved. Kevin again booked the only theater in Chicago equipped to screen the Lumiere brothers' antique film. When Kevin and Lily walked through the theater's doors, many of their guests had already arrived. The concession stand was fully stocked and everyone was indulging in their favorite movie treats. Kevin said hello to Dalton Steele and his wife Miranda, Olivia Rafferty, Brett Stewart of the Myriads, his tech whiz Zara, Kyle Thompson, Marcus Watford, Phoebe, and several others. Lily greeted her best friend Rachel and her physician Dr. Serafina Willow with air kisses and thanks for coming, and squeezed the hand of Nancy, her pregnancy buddy, who was forcing a smile while adjusting the pillow that gave her a fake pregnancy bump. Even Kevin's parents, Alan and Susan Williams, had beaten Kevin and Lily to the theater. Kevin showed Lily to their seats in the auditorium. Just as he was about to take his own seat, he was shoved out of the way by Lily's mother, Dorothy. Dorothy proceeded to take the seat beside Lily that Kevin had intended for himself. "Dorothy, I didn't expect to see you here today," Kevin said to her politely. "What did you expect?" Dorothy snapped back. "Lily told me she was inviting everybody important in her life to this dingy little theater. Why wouldn't she invite her own mother?" "I'm surprised to say that I can't think of a single reason why she wouldn't," Kevin replied. Dorothy turned to Lily. "Lily, don't you know by now you can never let Kevin be in charge of the refreshments when you're entertaining?" Dorothy stuffed a handful of popcorn in her mouth. "This popcorn has gone completely stale, and the portions in these little red and white striped bags are so small." "I just saw the popcorn being freshly popped," Kevin informed both women through gritted teeth. "Lily, would you like me to get you some?" Lily smiled at Kevin, appreciating his thoughtfulness. "No, thank you, Kevin. I hate that I fell asleep the last time we tried to watch your movie together. This time I want nothing to distract me from taking it all in." Kevin took the seat on the opposite side of Lily and felt a warm rush as he saw so many of the people he held dearest surrounding him. Surely, this would be enough to finally elevate his mental state to the point where he could enter the upper realm. Kevin signaled to the projectionist and the lights in the theater dimmed. The Lumiere brothers' mysterious fourth film began to play on the silver screen. Despite her determination to give the film her full attention, Lily fell asleep almost instantly, her head falling on Kevin's shoulder. All around Kevin, other heads began to nod as, one by one, everyone dropped into a deep and peaceful sleep. On the far side of Lily, Dorothy began to snore so loudly she drowned out the clatter from the projection booth. But Kevin didn't notice any of this. Once again, he felt the world around him fall away. He was floating peacefully in a quiet, dark void with only the images before him. Slowly, the movie's images multiplied, spreading out all around him until they surrounded Kevin. At the same time, Kevin's consciousness ballooned outward and inward until he became one with the pictures. But unlike last time, the images began to dissolve gradually. A scarlet thread began on one side of the images and slowly ate its way across the picture, leaving nothing but gray ashes behind. Kevin knew that this was not right. Something had gone terribly wrong, but he found himself stuck in that quiet, dark void, unable to return his consciousness to the theater to see what had happened. Kevin focused on physical sensations to bring his mind back into his body. He stretched his senses to feel the worn velvet seat under his fingers, the sweet weight of Lily's head on his shoulder. He focused his hearing on the clatter of the projector and the snores of the people sleeping around him. And under all those noises, he heard something else, a quiet crackling, which he couldn't place. Kevin stretched himself further, taking in the smells of perfume and popcorn and something else. That something set off alarm bells in the deepest, most primitive part of his brain that still remembered the dangers to his primate ancestors, predators, hunger, and most of all, forest fires. That's what the smell was. It was smoke. The jolt of fear was enough to bring Kevin's consciousness back into his body with a hard thump that left his vision spinning. He shook his head hard. The room came into focus. It was still dark and everybody was asleep. But there, at the front of the auditorium, where a silver screen should be, was a wall of flames. Fire! The theater is on fire! Kevin yelled to everybody while shaking Lily to rouse her. But nobody moved, including Lily. Whatever spell the Lumiere brothers film cast, the entire theater was still under its lulling, sleep-inducing sway. The flames spread, eating into the gilded proscenium and snaking out across the floor. Kevin realized that this was not the way a normal fire should spread. The flames were eating an accelerant that had been spread over the theater floor. The sharp smell of gasoline hit Kevin's nostrils hard. This was no accidental fire. This was arson. Kevin scooped Lily into his arms, his priority being the safety of his darling wife and their unborn twins. He would carry her to safety and return in time to wake the others and get them to evacuate. Kevin rushed out of the auditorium with his wife in his arms. He ran to the theater doors, intending to push open the panic bar on his way out. But the door didn't move. It had been chained shut, just like all the other front doors to the theater. "You ain't going nowhere," a voice yelled. Kevin turned to see 5 large men in dark clothes and ski masks stepping out from a broom closet. 4 of them held large knives, and the 5th man clutched a 5-gallon can of gasoline. "We've got orders to make sure nobody leaves this crummy theater alive," the arsonist with the gas can said. "Get him, boys." The other 4 arsonists charged Kevin. Kevin instantly sensed that these were common thugs without levels. He would have to fight them using only his martial artistry. But first, he had to make sure Lily, still sleeping like the babies in her belly, was safe. Kevin leapt over the concession stand counter. He gently laid Lily on the floor where she would be out of the way of flying fists or flying bodies. He grabbed the nearest weapon to hand, the hopper from the antique popcorn maker. It was the size and shape of a large cast-iron pot, and just as heavy. He swung it as the first 2 arsonists reached him, slashing with their long knives. Kevin easily disarmed the first man with a blow to the head, catching his knife by the hilt as it went flying. Kevin now had 2 weapons, but from the corner of his eye, he saw the lead arsonist begin to douse the lobby with more gasoline. He swung the popcorn hopper viciously down, dislocating the second attacker's shoulder and forcing him to drop his knife. With his other hand, Kevin flung his own blade, It flipped over twice before burying itself hilt deep in the lead arsonist's chest. The gasoline can fell to the floor, but fortunately did not spill. With only 2 attackers remaining, Kevin raised the popcorn hopper again, sure that he could fend them off easily. However, the antique equipment was not designed for Mortal Kombat. As Kevin swung the hopper up, it broke free of its handle and went flying. "Not so tough now that you don't have any weapons in hand," sneered one of the remaining arsonists. The 2 men closed in, their knives at the ready. Kevin glanced over the concession stand and saw the perfect defensive weapon. He scooped up the vat of hot melted butter the proprietor had left on a hot plate. He flung it at his attackers, hitting them both in the eyes with the boiling fat. Both men dropped their weapons and clutched their eyes, screaming in pain. One ran into the front door so hard that the glass shattered around him, while the other fell to the floor sobbing. With his assailants out of the way, Kevin scooped up Lily in his arms again. He carried her out to the safety of the sidewalk. She was already beginning to wake. "Kevin?" she asked in a sleepy voice. "Is the movie over already? Did I sleep through it again?"
One enemy remaining.
"Just one moment," Kevin told her. He ran back inside, fearing that he would have to wake everybody in the theater one by one. But then he saw the perfect solution. There was a fire alarm clearly marked beside the auditorium doors. Under it was a warning: sprinklers will activate. Kevin yanked the fire alarm as hard as he could. Instantly, the sprinklers above him opened up. Water sprayed down into the lobby. Kevin stuck his head into the auditorium and assured himself that the sprinklers had not only put out the fire at the front of the auditorium, but also that they began to wake everybody inside. Afterward, everyone accepted being awoken from their unexpected nap by an equally unexpected shower with good grace. Kevin's friends and family knew him well enough to know that the unexpected was always a possibility when they joined him in any of his endeavors. The proprietor, who had also fallen asleep, was happy to have Kevin compensate him for the damage, which turned out to only be minor. Though that didn't mean Kevin wasn't going to write him a check for $2 million. Only Dorothy was disgruntled. She was as angry as a cat who had found itself in a similar position and twice as unforgiving about it. But the incident clear sign to Kevin that evil forces were arrayed to do whatever it took to stop him from reaching the upper realm. He needed to find a way to achieve the mental state needed to gain the portal, without putting those he cared about at risk. Kevin thought he might have the perfect solution. Kevin's last attempt to use the Lumiere's antique film to achieve the correct mental state to reach the portal to the upper realm was interrupted by an anonymous arson attempt on the theater. Kevin fought off the arsonist, saving his darling wife, Lily, and their unborn children, and rescued the rest of his friends and loved ones from the burning building. It was clear to Kevin that forces intent on bringing down the Foundation would stop at nothing to end his attempts to reach the upper realm. However, Kevin came up with a new plan to safeguard the next screening of the Lumiere brothers film and finally achieve the upper realm. He can only hope that the Night King's dire warnings about the chaotic state of the upper realm will prove to be greatly exaggerated. The first step to Kevin's plan was to broker a deal with the proprietor of the vintage silent movie theater deep in Chicago's Art District, where his first 2 attempts to screen the Lumiere brothers film had taken place. The Lumiere brothers film was so old that it had been shot using a process that required an antique projector to screen it. The owner of the art house theater was only too happy to lend Kevin the projector, while his theater was undergoing renovations from the attempted arson, along with refurbishments bankrolled by the generous fees Kevin paid for the previous screenings. Kevin then hauled the bulky projector down to the basement of the suburban home he shared with Lily, her mother Dorothy, his parents Alan and Susan Williams, the dog Hank, the cat Missy, Lily's pregnancy pal Nancy, and various members of the Radiant who acted as security for the estate. At the center of the basement was a room with a sturdy lock. The builders had intended it to be a wine cellar, but Kevin and Lily were not big drinkers, especially since Lily was pregnant. The room had been empty since they moved in. Kevin reversed the lock on the door so that it was now on the inside. He flipped the lock, guaranteeing that he would be undisturbed. Kevin set up a screen at one end of the highly secured room and placed the projector at the other. With members of the Radiants constantly patrolling the grounds of the Williams estate, the location was as secure as Kevin could hope for. No arsonist sent by Kevin's enemies, who surely knew that he was very close to gaining entry to the upper realm, would screening this time. Previously, the film alone was not quite enough to put Kevin into the correct state of mind to access the portal to the upper realm. From his conversation with the Night King, Kevin knew that entrance to the upper realm also required him to lean into his feelings of love and connection to those who mattered most to him. At the last screening, Kevin had hoped to achieve that by having his nearest and dearest surrounding him. However, that proved too great a temptation for one of the shadowy organizations determined to bring down the Foundation. Kevin would have to find a way to reach the correct state of mind without his loved ones physically present. To that end, Kevin had modified the projector so that as soon as the film ended, it would begin again immediately. The constant loop of images meant there would be no break in the trance-like state the film always induced in Kevin. Kevin turned on the projector and took a seat. As before, he felt reality fall away as the film mesmerized him. Kevin floated weightlessly in an endless void with only the film's images before him. Gradually, the images multiplied, spreading out all around him until they encircled Kevin. Simultaneously, Kevin's consciousness expanded beyond the limits of his own body, spreading out in every direction, reaching for an indescribable oneness with the universe. Always before, this was as far as Kevin could get before the film ended, and his consciousness returned to his body. With the film now running on a loop, Kevin could linger in the state of oneness indefinitely. But in order to reach the portal to the upper realm, Kevin would have to go even further. Kevin focused on the feelings of love and connection that brought him closer to the upper realm previously. There were so many in his life that he had been fortunate to know. There was also the love for all of humankind that had inspired him to take up herbalism and environmentalism to improve the lives of everyone on the planet. He had learned to be one with animals, and his talents were now verging on enabling him to speak to plants as well. His heart felt so full of love and kindness that he thought it might burst. But before it could, the images from the film began to morph and change. Suddenly, Kevin experienced visions that had nothing to do with the Lumiere's original short film. They were all snippets and moments from Kevin's past. Time seemed to be rewinding itself through the visions. He saw himself and Madame Spatzel standing on stage together, accepting the award for the best short film at the Sundance Film Festival. The crowd was on its feet, giving them both a thunderous... That changed to Kevin watching as Quentin Covington was seemingly smashed to death underneath the remnants of his luxury space station, Silky. The station had been as big as a city, the single largest engineering feat ever accomplished by humanity. The destruction of the space station had been just as spectacular and saved the Foundation from Quentin's evil plan to melt the polar ice caps and drown anyone left on the planet who hadn't bought a luxury condo on the station for billions of dollars. The images of destruction faded away, replaced with the joyful moment Kevin and Lily first learned that they were with a child. That faded in turn to be replaced with the moment he had won the epic clash, defeating dozens of other competitors. As his prize, Kevin had been gifted the apparently blank sheet of paper that had first set his feet upon his journey to reach the portal to the upper realm. That triumph morphed into another of Kevin's greatest achievements, the moment in Washington, D.C. when he first achieved his level 7 abilities and the earth-shaking consequences thereof. Kevin could still feel the earth roll under his feet from that moment. Then the Night King's face swam up before his mind's eye with the eerie blue glow that always accompanied his enigmatic visits. This was the moment when the Night King first came to Kevin and informed Kevin that he had been chosen to save the Foundation from extinction. Going back even further, the images recounted his first major triumph against the Pinnacle on Apex Island. This was the fantastic locale where the Pinnacle had resided for hundreds of years. The images moved faster now, becoming a dizzying, ever-changing whirlpool of images, memories, sights, and sounds. Kevin felt his consciousness stretch impossibly thin, spreading out until it seemed to encompass the entire universe. Kevin caught a brief glimpse of himself the moment he realized that instead of making him a pauper, his unusual secret investment had actually paid off, and now he was wealthier beyond his wildest dreams. Just when Kevin that he would shatter into an infinite number of pieces and be left spread as only pinpricks of consciousness scattered across the galaxy, everything seemed to come to a dead halt. He stayed like that for a moment, perfectly balanced between the push and pull of chaos and stability for a breathless moment. And then there was a cracking sound that seemed to fill every molecule of his being. Kevin's consciousness contracted, racing back across all the known cosmos, shrinking until it fit only the Milky Way. It shrank even further until it encompassed only the solar system, collapsing back in on itself as it passed the Earth, then the country, then the city of Chicago, and then back into Kevin's body. And just when Kevin thought he had returned to normal, once again failing to reach the mythical mindset necessary to achieve the upper realm, his consciousness continued to shrink. It compressed down until it filled only his head, then only his brain, and then only a single one of his cells. Pressure mounted as Kevin's compressed mind took on the density of a black hole. His whole being was suddenly no more than a single, tiny atom. And yet somehow, in that moment, a new vision came to him. The most beautiful girl in the world was looking up at him and holding out her hand to greet him for the first time. "Hello," she said in her lovely voice. "My name is Lily. What's your name?" It was the first moment Kevin had ever met his darling Lily. It was the moment he had fallen in love with her. The moment that everything became possible for Kevin Williams. The vision faded to blackness, and Kevin felt himself falling. Seemed like he would fall forever. Right up until he landed in the middle of a lily pond with a splash.
He's saving.
After Kevin's second attempt to use the Lumiere brothers' antique film to reach the portal to the upper realm was interrupted by an anonymous arson attempt, he set up a private screening room in the basement of his home. Locked away from the rest of the world, Kevin played the mysterious short film on a continuous loop, while concentrating on his feelings of love and connection to the world, and especially to his darling Lily and his unborn twins. This time, Kevin managed to achieve a greater trance-like state than ever. After reliving many of the major points in his life, Kevin found his consciousness hurtling through time and space, only to end with a splash in a lily pond. Kevin was so surprised to land in a lily pond that for a moment, all he could do was gape in shock. The lily pond was no more than 2 feet deep, covered with flat green leaves, and it was surrounded by a chorus of croaking frogs. Everything within Kevin told him that he had indeed finally achieved entering the upper realm. But after numerous warnings from the Night King and terrifying encounters with upper realm veterans like Beatrice, the mentally disturbed woman who had attacked him in a nursing home, Kevin expected to be assailed at any moment. Worse, he could instantly tell that he had lost all of his levels. Kevin had had his levels for so long that they had become an indelible part of himself. Their loss left him feeling vulnerable and hollow. A hand suddenly clapped him on the shoulder. Kevin jumped, startled nearly out of his skin. He threw off the hand and scrambled to the other side of the pond. He looked back, expecting to face off against a hulking, terrifying warrior. But what he saw was a mild-looking, middle-aged man with glasses. "Hello, friend," the man said. "Can I offer you a hand out of that lily pond?" "Are you going to attack me?" Kevin asked. "Are you going to challenge me to defend myself in my place here in the upper realm? Or insist we battle to the death so one of us can absorb the other's abilities?" The man blinked mildly at Kevin. "No, I don't think so. Really, that sounds rather unpleasant and unnecessary, don't you think?" "I'm not sure," Kevin replied in all honesty. "Sure, I can't give you a hand," the man offered again. "You're looking pretty soggy and uncomfortable." Kevin had to accept the fact that the man was not a threat to him. Somehow, that was more unsettling than if the man had actually been intent on Kevin's destruction. No, thank you, Kevin replied. I think I'm just going to relax here for a few more minutes. The mild-looking man just shrugged. Suit yourself, he said before walking away. Kevin watched him until he was out of sight, making sure that he was truly gone before Kevin climbed out of the lily pond, sopping wet and plucking water weeds from his shoulders as he went. Kevin took a good look around. He was in the middle of a rolling park-like field. The lily pond was in the middle of an open grassy area, surrounded on two sides by pleasant-looking forests. The trees were a mix of the tropical and the temperate with no regard to climate. On the other two sides, the land dropped away to cliffs, beyond which Kevin could see a sparkling sea. The sun shone and the air was warm and balmy. Puffy white clouds dotted an azure sky. Whatever chaos had invaded the upper realm, it had not affected the environment yet. The place was practically an Eden. And that's when Kevin heard shrieking in the distance. He grabbed a satchel of herbal remedies that had fortunately made the journey to the upper realm with him and ran towards the noise.
Go B.
Kevin came to a small group of trees. Their leafy branches blocked his view inside the grove, but he could hear running footsteps and panting breaths interrupted by the occasional squeal or shout. Kevin pushed his way into the grove in time to see the mild-looking man dodge behind a tree to avoid the grasping hands of a woman with wild dark hair. "Stop," commanded Kevin. "Leave that man alone." The woman stopped. She blinked at Kevin in much the same way that the man had only a few moments ago. "I'm sorry, stranger, but I can't do that," she told Kevin. Kevin pushed his way between the woman and the man he had met when he had first arrived in the upper realm. "Then I'm sorry too," Kevin told her, "but I can't let you harm him." "Harm him?" Both people said in unison, clearly baffled at the idea. Weren't you attacking him just now?" Kevin asked. The woman shook her head. "Attacking him? No, we were playing tag." "We take turns winning," the man explained as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. "It was her turn to tag me, and then it's my turn to tag her." "Would you like to join our game?" the woman asked kindly. "I can tag him, then he can tag you, then you can tag me, and then I can tag him." She explained it as if it was an entirely new idea. "No, thank you," Kevin said with some hesitation. "I think I better talk to somebody in charge first. Do you know who that is?" The man and woman exchanged looks, shook their heads, and then shrugged. Kevin left them to their game of tag in the grove and wandered back out to the parkland, unsure of what to do next. After all of the dire warnings and all of the mysterious cautions, the upper realm seemed to be nothing more than a pleasant landscape populated by pleasant, if inane, people. How could this place help Kevin in his never-ending quest to secure the future of the Foundation? How could the upper realm help him refine his levels when it was just so boring? Thoughts churned in his mind until a bright blue butterfly crossed his path. Kevin stared at it, amazed. It was as big as his two hands together and fluttered in the breeze with the light glinting off its iridescent wings. It was so pretty and unexpected that Kevin was unable to look away from it, as the rest of his mind wandered off entirely. In fact, Kevin was so lost in thought that he didn't hear the pounding hoofbeats behind him, until they were nearly upon him. He spun around just in time to see a giant white buffalo come charging straight for him.
One enemy remaining.
Normally, Kevin's enhanced senses would have told him of the buffalo's approach long before it was anywhere near as close as it was. But now Kevin had no time to duck or dodge out of the way. He could only throw up his hands in a half-hearted attempt to protect himself, as the beast lunged across the final yards between them. But at the last second, the buffalo stopped dead, hooves splaying and kicking up a rain of dirt and grass that showered Kevin from head to toe. And before Kevin could react to even that, something warm, wet, and meaty slapped him across first one cheek and then the other. The white buffalo was licking Kevin. Astounded, Kevin gently pushed the buffalo's tongue away and wiped the slime of buffalo saliva from his cheeks. With his mind, he reached out to the huge animal, uncertain if his abilities to communicate with animals would have been taken from him the same way that his levels were. He was delighted to find that he could still reach the White Buffalo's mine. Kevin instantly got a sense of the Buffalo's joy and relief to see a new person had entered the upper realm. Kevin sent back feelings of goodwill and appreciation to the Buffalo. He communicated a brief sense of everything he had gone through in order to get to the upper realm, and his hopes that the upper realm would help him refine his levels so that he could help the rest of humanity in turn. He ended up conveying his general sense of confusion over everything he had encountered in the upper realm so far. The Buffalo returned Kevin's thoughts, and Kevin was almost relieved to find out that the Buffalo shared all of Kevin's concerns. Indeed, something had gone wrong with the upper realm. Those who had come here before Kevin now wandered about directionless and distracted. They'd played silly games and stared for hours at the clouds passing by. This was not meditation or connecting to the center of something greater than themselves. It was pure distraction and idleness. They seemed to have forgotten who they were entirely. The Buffalo gave Kevin a sense that things in the upper realm needed to be put to right with great urgency. It sent Kevin a mental image of a tall white tower at the cliff edge, with the sea crashing on the beach below. Kevin understood that this was where he needed to go in order to begin to fix whatever had gone wrong with the upper realm. Kevin sent his thanks to the Buffalo along with a promise that he would do everything within his power to set the upper realm back on its course. He hiked off in the direction the Buffalo had indicated the White Tower lay in, following the gentle slope of the land as it came ever close to the sea. Kevin hurried as fast as he could, but time and again, one of those giant butterflies would cross his path. Kevin would have to stop to admire it. He knew that he should be getting to the tower as fast as possible. Still, he couldn't help but lose himself in the wonder of their beautiful iridescent colors and their graceful, fluttering movements. They seemed to be everywhere all at once. Eventually, Kevin was within sight of the White Tower. It was surrounded by a gleaming white courtyard and soared a dozen stories above the edge of the cliff where it was perched. Even at this distance, Kevin could make out the small figure of somebody clinging to the side of the tower. The person was a black blot against white marble, but a far-off scream reached Kevin's ears as the figure lost its grip. The person, whoever he or she might be, fell, tumbling from the tower onto the white courtyard below. Kevin locked himself in his own basement to view the Lumiere brothers' short film on a loop. By doing so, Kevin was finally able to achieve the mental state necessary to gain the portal to the upper realm. Kevin was not surprised to find that he was without all of his levels in this strange area, although he retained both his ability to communicate with animals and his trusty satchel of herbal remedies. But instead of finding a harsh and chaotic situation, Kevin discovered that the upper realm was a green and pleasant land where the sun shone, and all the people he encountered were kind, if a little dim. Just as he was wondering if reports of trouble in the upper realm were greatly exaggerated, he encountered a white buffalo who confirmed that something had indeed gone very wrong. The buffalo directed Kevin to seek answers as to how to restore the upper realm to its rightful state at a white tower on a cliff overlooking a sparkling sea. However, just as Kevin came into view of the tower, he saw somebody falling from its white walls to the stone courtyard below. Kevin ran as fast as he could, clutching a satchel of herbal remedies. Several butterflies crossed his path, but he batted them away with annoyance. It took everything he had to remain focused on the White Tower, but he reminded himself that someone might be hurt and in need of his help. He wasn't sure if anybody could survive a fall from that height, especially here in the upper realm, where reality did not seem to be functioning as it did in the world he was used to. A world that was driven by love and honor and work, and money. But Kevin Williams would always do anything he could to help a fellow human being in distress. Kevin reached the courtyard, circling the tower until he found the spot where he thought the person had fallen. Sure enough, there was a splash of fresh red blood staining the white stones that made up the terrace. But there was no sign of a body. Kevin had no way of knowing if the person had been able to walk away on his own or if someone else had removed the body. The tower seemed to be impenetrable. It had smooth white walls soaring a dozen stories above the courtyard. Kevin could. Now that he thought about it, Kevin couldn't even be sure if the person who fell had been climbing up the tower, or if he had been trying to climb down some door or window at the top that Kevin couldn't see from the ground. He continued to walk around the tower, double-checking for any entrances. Just as he completed his circle, there was a faint grinding noise. An entire section of the wall seemed to fall forward into the tower itself. Kevin peered inside. Instead of being dark and gloomy, the white stone the tower was built of seemed to glow with its own inner light. He could see flowers growing inside the tower along with waterfalls seeping their way down between a long flight of steps that circled the interior of the tower. "Enter Kevin Williams," came a soft female voice in the breeze. "Enter and climb the tower." The voice was so warm and soothing that Kevin instantly trusted it. He mounted the steps, picking his way between small trickling waterfalls, springy moss, and blooming flowers. There were no butterflies within the tower that he could see. Perhaps whoever controlled the building didn't let them inside. At the very top of the tower was a small round room with an open skylight above, letting in warm sunshine. A woman in a white dress stood in the center of the room. She smiled at him kindly, but Kevin could see that her face showed signs of weariness and strain. "Welcome, Kevin Williams," she said in the same soft voice. "My name is Alohi. I am the gatekeeper of the White Tower. I congratulate you on reaching the Upper Realm, a state that many seek, but few ever achieve." "I'm not surprised," Kevin replied. "If the only way to get here is by watching the Lumiere brothers film, I'm not sure how anyone came here in the last couple of decades. The film has been scattered and lost until I recovered all the pieces and reassembled it." "There are many ways of achieving the state of mind necessary to enter the portal to the Upper Realm," Alohi explained. "It is different for everyone, but all who wish to elevate themselves beyond their normal human consciousness have the potential to achieve it." Kevin nodded understanding. This explained how others that he had met on Earth achieved the Upper Realm and returned from there without having had to find and piece together the Lumiere brothers film. "May I ask how you know my name?" he asked Alohi. "I know you from my counterpart, who has met you many times on your own plane of existence," the woman replied. "You would know him by the name of the Night King." "Yeah, about that," Kevin considered how to ask his question. "The Night King warned me that the Upper Realm had been thrown into chaos somehow, that many dangers are lurking here, that maybe even my sanity would be in peril if I came here. I met a white buffalo just now who was also very concerned, but I haven't seen much to be concerned about so far. Everyone I've met seems rather nice, if rather, well, boring." "The Upper Realm was never meant to be a training camp of war," Alohi said in a gentle rebuke. "But make no mistake, Kevin Williams. Something has gone terribly wrong. An interloper has entered the Upper Realm." "An interloper? What exactly does that mean?" Kevin asked. "It means that someone found a way to bypass the usual mental state necessary to enter the Upper Realm. The stability of this plane of existence relies upon everyone here functioning at a similar frequency. It's like one note in a chorus of millions has gone off-key and threatens to bring all the notes around it off-key as well. If this continues, the chain reaction could shatter the entire Upper Realm forever. This interloper is the single greatest threat that the Upper Realm has ever faced." Kevin knew that would also mean the end of his chance to finally refine his level 7 abilities, bring down the pinnacle, and secure the future of the Foundation forever. "Who is this interloper? Just tell me where to find him, or her, and I will put a stop to this immediately." Alohi shook her head. "I'm afraid it's not that easy. There is no way to tell the interloper from the others who have reached this plane of consciousness through hard work and dedication. The interloper may seem like any other denizen to look at. He may even speak or act like he belongs here, most of the time." "There's really no way to tell who the interloper is?" Kevin asked. "There is no test or sign to look out for." Alohi closed her eyes, obviously mustering her strength, although she and Kevin were doing nothing more than standing and speaking to each other. Kevin realized that her exhaustion was bone deep. She needed to rest, but Kevin could see that her priority was communicating as much information to him as possible. The interloper is still out of harmony with the state of being, Lohi finally continued. Her voice grew fainter with every sentence, but still she pressed on. He will not always be able to play the role of someone who should truly be here. It is not within the person's nature. You will have to be vigilant and observant to spot whoever the interloper is. I can do that, Kevin assured Alohi. But in his private thoughts, he remembered how often on his hike to the tower he found himself mesmerized by the beautiful butterflies. He also thought of the two people he had already met in the upper realm. Although they did not seem evil or dangerous, they were easily distracted and a bit dim. Would Kevin start to become like them as well? If so, how would he ever spot the interloper if he could barely keep his mind focused enough for a simple child's game, like the people he had met? That is not all you must do, although he continued. Before you can find the interloper, there is something else you must do to prepare yourself. Without it, you have no chance of identifying the one who does not belong here and putting the upper realm to rights again. Please, he told Alohi, tell me what I must do to correct this problem. I am willing to do whatever it takes. Alohi gave him a grateful smile. I see the Night King was right about you, Kevin Williams. I have waited so long for you to arrive here finally. I wasn't sure how much longer I could hold out. She swayed on her feet, exhaustion threatening to overwhelm. Just tell me what I must do, Kevin urged her. Yes, I must tell you, I must. The first thing you must do is... But before she could give Kevin his instructions, Alohi collapsed to the floor, unconscious. Kevin traveled to the upper realm and was stunned by the endless tranquil beauty that surrounded him. That tranquility was disrupted, however, when Kevin witnessed a person falling from an ivory tower in the distance, screaming wildly as he or she dropped into a blackened sea below. Kevin raced to the tower to try and help, but was met by a mystical figure named Alohi. Alohi explained the metaphysical nature of the upper realm and revealed that a new threat jeopardized the upper realm's very existence. Before she could fully explain, Alohi became overwhelmed and fell to the floor. Alohi lay unconscious on the ivory tiles. Kevin knelt down and examined her. Her pulse was light. She was barely breathing. She needed help. Kevin reached for his trusty satchel, hoping to supply Alohi with some herbal assistance, but as he looked inside, Kevin was shocked to discover that his once vibrant collection of herbs had somehow been reduced to lifeless dust. My herbs and power pills, Kevin worried aloud. What happened to them? The realization struck Kevin like a bolt of lightning. His reservoir of restorative herbs had been drained to useless bits and pieces of plants and other materials. A bead of sweat formed on his forehead as he desperately pondered his next move. Kevin was confused by the sweat as well. He felt a sensation in his chest. It was panic. Kevin hadn't felt true panic in such a long time. He was brave and confident always, but as Alohi lay motionless beneath him, Kevin could feel the fate of the upper realm pushing down on him. Time became a strange enemy which urged Kevin to act swiftly and decisively. An internal dialogue unfolded within him as Kevin grappled with the gravity of the situation. This can't be happening. Why do I feel so much anxiety? Alohi's out cold. I've saved countless people before. I've got to save Alohi, but how? Kevin said to himself as thoughts flooded through his brain almost uncontrollably. The soothing atmosphere of the upper realm, disrupted by the urgency of the moment, demanded Kevin's attention. Gazing at Alohi's still form, Kevin considered his options, whispering to himself. I need to find another way to revive her, something within the realm itself. But what could replace my herbs? Kevin's raced through fragments of conversations with the Night King, recalling the hints about the unique energy of the upper realm. The answers, however, escaped him. Energy, vibrations, life force. That's what fills the upper realm, but how do I harness it? Looking around the ivory tower, Kevin was also fully aware that a malevolent force lurked in the shadows. Alohi had warned him before her collapse, but hadn't been specific. The threat could be anyone or anywhere. More sweat ran down Kevin's forehead. He stopped and considered it. What is happening to me? Kevin wondered. I feel scared? Kevin Williams hadn't felt true fear in a very long time. Not since before he had made his fortune, reversed his stock in life, and cemented his marriage to his beloved Lily. But something was happening to him. He felt oddly vulnerable. It was disorienting. Kevin shook it off. Focus, Kevin. Focus. You can do this. The pressing urgency to secure aid for Alohi intensified, yet the ominous presence of the unseen villain whispered in Kevin's mind. Every rustle of unseen leaves and every ripple in the unseen waters drew Kevin's attention. Danger surrounded him. But didn't danger always surround him? Kevin was overwhelmed and he was not accustomed to dealing with that feeling. Kevin took a deep breath. Just take it one step at a time. Be scientific. We don't have our herbs, but what supplies do we have? As he searched his surroundings for inspiration, Kevin's eyes fell upon a field of glowing flowers in the distance. Naturally curious, Kevin allowed if he could harness the luminous blossoms. Maybe the flowers hold the key. They seem alive with energy. Could they be the substitute for my dying herbs? There's only one way to find out. Kevin raced down the tower and headed across the drawbridge towards the flowers. As he made his way, Kevin suddenly felt a rumble beneath him. The upper realm was shaking. It was an earthquake. Kevin was flung around and he had to fight to maintain his footing. The Black Sea washed beneath him and Kevin didn't want to fall in. He moved forward, trying to reach the end of the bridge as it shook violently. The drawbridge gave way and began to collapse beneath Kevin. The last possible moment, Kevin leapt for safety. Kevin didn't make it across. His strength was noticeably diminished and his jump wasn't far enough. Instead of reaching the other side, Kevin was able to grab hold of the rocky moat's cliff surface. He would have to climb up or risk falling into the eerie black water beneath him. Kevin took a deep breath. You made it. You're alive. Now let's get to the top and find a solution for Alohi. Kevin was a magnificent climber and had scaled many mountains in the past, but as he began to pull himself up, he found it was to be quite the struggle. He couldn't find the right rocks to latch onto and his grip was poor. Something was happening to Kevin. He worried to himself. My climbing ability is diminished and I feel weak. All of my levels, all of my skills I've developed over the years. It feels like they're completely gone. The cold sea breeze washed over Kevin as he dangled precariously from the cliffs of the upper realm. His mind raced, questioning the sudden disappearance of his levels and his herbs. Was this a test? Or had the rules of the upper realm changed him in a way he could never fully come back from? Kevin reached for the night dagger he always carried to try and use it as a climbing tool, but the night dagger, too, was missing. Gone. They're all gone. Kevin murmured to himself. Come on, Kevin, think. You have to help Alohi. No time for panic, I must find a solution. The Black Sea below churned with uncertainty, mirroring the turbulence in Kevin's thoughts. Focusing on the task at hand, Kevin assessed the cliff face. Without his usual physical prowess, every move became a calculated risk. You're just an ordinary man now, but an ordinary man can still think. Use your head. Kevin muttered, searching for footholds that would lead him to safety. The cliffs seemed steeper, the rocks more slippery, and the challenges more daunting without the aid of his levels. All right, Kevin, this is just another puzzle. You're not the first man to face an obstacle. Adapt and overcome. He encouraged himself, summoning the resilience that had seen him through countless battles. With each upward struggle, Kevin's internal dialogue continued. Levels or not, you're still Kevin Williams. You've got resourcefulness, determination, and a knack for getting out of tight spots. Now show them what ordinary Kevin Williams can do. As he inched closer to the summit, Kevin felt a renewed sense of triumph. Take that, cliffs. You won't defeat me. But even as he cried out in victory, Kevin could feel his body getting increasingly tired. As Kevin struggled against the unforgiving cliffs of the upper realm, exhaustion began to weigh heavily on his weakened form. He wanted to give up, but his thoughts turned to Lily. She was back home, pregnant with their twins, and waiting anxiously for his safe return, surely. Their twins would not be born for many more months, and all Kevin wanted was to see their faces. With each feeble attempt to ascend, Kevin's body protested. and the world around him blurred into a dizzying panorama of uncertainty. If Kevin didn't make it back, if he let the upper realm consume him, then there would be no one to stand up to the pinnacle. The foundation would be at risk. And if the foundation fell, Lily could fall. The big and the small, the cause and the effect, that is what the Night King had told him. Kevin couldn't let the pinnacle win. He couldn't let the foundation fall. He couldn't let Lily fall. So Kevin decided he wasn't going to fall either. I can't give up. Kevin whispered to himself, the determination in his voice conflicting with the weariness in his limbs. The cliffs seemed insurmountable, and the weight of his responsibilities pressed down on him. He pulled himself up, willing himself up higher and higher, but Kevin was weak. His eyes began to flutter shut, surrendering to the overwhelming fatigue. Kevin couldn't hold on any longer. His skill was gone. His strength was gone. With his last breath, he whispered softly, I love you, Lily, and I'm sorry.
41 broom.
As Kevin's fingers released their grip on the rock wall and surrender, a hand reached down from above, catching him just before the brink of a perilous fall. Kevin couldn't believe it. He didn't fall. The mysterious savior pulled Kevin over the cliff's edge and onto solid ground. Gasping for breath, Kevin looked up at the man who had just saved him. Who are you? The stranger, a figure with a calm demeanor and an air of authority, responded, My name is Jonah, and there's much to discuss. Kevin journeyed to an ivory tower deep within the tranquil beauty of the upper realm and was met by a mystical figure named Alohi. Alohi revealed that a new threat jeopardized the upper realm's very existence, but before she could fully explain, Alohi became overwhelmed and collapsed onto the floor. Kevin tried to help her, but found that his trusty satchel of herbs had turned to dust. He rushed off to get help, but the drawbridge to the tower crumbled, and as Kevin clung to the edge of the cliff, he found his strength and skill lacking. Had he lost his levels? But how? In a weakened state, Kevin tried to climb to the top but didn't have the strength to make it. At the last possible moment, a hand reached out and pulled Kevin to safety. Kevin lay on the ground, breathing heavily, totally exhausted. His levels were gone and his strength was at an all-time low. In desperate times, Kevin could usually reach into a satchel and use a power pill, but the herbs and pills he had been carrying were now nothing more than dust. Kevin was in trouble. Kevin looked up at the man who had saved him from the cliffs. Who are you? Jonah looked at rattled and exhausted Kevin and did not want to remind Kevin that he had already told him his name. I'm Jonah, the man replied. We have much to do if we are to restore the equilibrium of the upper realm. Come with me. Moments later, Kevin found himself sitting in front of a blue burning fire. Jonah had made a small camp and Kevin warmed himself as Jonah provided him with a collection of nuts and berries to help rebuild his strength. Thank you, Kevin said as his strength started to return. I'm not used to needing anyone's help, but I appreciate it. My name's Kevin. Kevin Williams. The two shook hands. I understand, Jonah replied. Most people who reach the upper realm are the best of the best, just hoping to become masters of their particular skill set. But not anymore. Something sinister is afoot. Jonah's words caught Kevin's full attention. What is it? What's going on?
10 seconds left.
I don't have all of the answers, but I'll tell you what I know. Jonah, with a distant stare, began to unravel the mystery for Kevin. You arrived at the upper realm at a peculiar time. From what I've been told, this place used to be a haven of serenity, a cosmic sanctuary, a calming place where people with great skills could focus their energy and become masters of their craft. I arrived not too long ago with a friend. I'm a ballet dancer by trade, one of the highest-rated ballet dancers in the world. And when I first came to the upper realm, it seemed like the perfect place for me to finally bring out the best in myself. It was a land free of distraction, free of conflict, free of worry or war. But then, something changed. Changed? Kevin inquired. What changed? Jonah continued. Everyone has always seemed so serene, and serenity can be a powerful gift, but it turned on them. They became almost too serene. Instead of having time and space to focus on their skills, people just started doing nothing. Nothing? Kevin repeated curiously. They were content to just sit and stare at all the beauty, Jonah replied.
Standing.
Nothing seemed to affect them. Nothing seemed to drive them. They were, well, I suppose the word would be chill. Super chill. And that was a problem. Why? Kevin asked. Because as I understand it, Jonah offered, you're meant to come to the upper realm to hone your skills and become a master. But if you have no drive, you'll never do the work that's necessary to reach that level. And you can't leave the upper realm without achieving that goal. Otherwise, it could drive you insane upon your return to the real world. So we have to become masters or we can't leave. Kevin's expression sank. Who's responsible for all this chaos and why do you seem so unaffected by it all? Jonah considered the question. My friend and I were the last ones to reach the upper realm, at least until you showed up. At first it seemed like a perfect place, but soon we noticed the people starting to lose focus. It happened slowly over time and I am affected by it, just not as much as everyone else. I think the longer you're here, the more you become detached. Whatever's affecting these people is affecting us too. It's just a question of time before we're just like them. Me first, but eventually you too, Kevin Williams. A cold shiver ran down Kevin's spine. We have to do something, Kevin noted. We have to find who's been upsetting the balance and stop them. And we have to do it fast. Jonah nodded. Agreed. And what about a low? Kevin continued. I was talking to her and she collapsed. She's still in the ivory tower. She needs help. Jonah sighed. The only way to help Alohi is to find the interloper. Alohi is the gatekeeper, in tune with the energies of the upper realm. The interloper's disruption strained her, leaving her vulnerable. As for the interloper's identity, I'm not sure. We'll have to investigate carefully. Let me bring you to the people. Maybe you can spot something I've missed. Your senses are still mostly keen. Kevin sighed. I used to be much stronger, but I'll do my best. The two set out on a quest to unravel the mysteries of the upper realm, navigating through the surreal landscape together. The duo continued their journey, passing through otherworldly landscapes where once driven, focused ambition human beings now meandered without purpose. It was a surreal tableau of poisonous laziness. Kevin and Jonah stopped and took a large gathering of people all staring at the same shiny stone. That's unsettling, Kevin noted. It'll happen to us too, Jonah reminded him. All of these people were once the most skilled human beings in the world, and now they've turned into this. Kevin turned to Jonah. You did ballet? Jonah nodded as he continued forward. I was one of the best. Let me show you. Kevin observed Jonah's balletic prowess with a sense of awe. The level 7 ballet dancer executed a flawless leap, showcasing his incredible skill. However, Kevin couldn't shake the disquieting contrast as Jonah abruptly transitioned from grace to childlike fascination. In mid-air, Jonah spotted a delicate monarch butterfly fluttering nearby. With a sudden change in focus, he descended gracefully, his attention now fixated on the tiny creature. Oh, what pretty little wings, Jonah exclaimed, his eyes dewy with wonder. The sudden shift in Jonah's demeanor left Kevin feeling unnerved. One moment, Jonah embodied the disciplined pursuit of mastery, and the next, he was captivated by the simplicity of nature. The juxtaposition was upsetting, and it was a stark departure from the purpose-driven existence the upper realm was designed to promote. Jonah, we need to stay focused, Kevin urged, his concern evident. We're on a mission to find the interloper and restore balance to this realm. Let's not get sidetracked by butterflies. Jonah blinked as if awakening from a brief enchantment, refocusing on their quest. Right. Of course. I got a bit carried away there. Let's find this interloper and set things right. As Kevin and Jonah continued their exploration of the upper realm, the prevalence of butterflies became increasingly apparent. The ethereal creatures flitted gracefully through the air, casting a serene and enchanting atmosphere over the once focused inhabitants. Surveying the scene, Kevin couldn't help but notice that the residents of the upper realm were captivated by the butterflies. People who had once pursued mastery in various disciplines were now seemingly entranced by the delicate insects, their disciplined pursuits abandoned for the simple joys of observing these winged wonders. Kevin scratched his head, perplexed by the sudden shift in priorities. What gives? Why is everyone so fixated on butterflies? He mused aloud, sharing his bewilderment with Jonah. Jonah, still recovering from his earlier butterfly-induced distraction, shrugged. It's like they've all become mesmerized by the beauty of these creatures. It's unusual, to say the least. Determined to unravel the mystery, Kevin and Jonah pressed on, their quest to find the interloper taking on an added layer of complexity in this newfound realm of butterfly fascination. As Kevin and Jonah passed another group, Kevin stopped cold in his tracks. In the distance, he spotted someone he knew, Hester Crone, a former rival whom Kevin had competed against in the epic clash. This was the interloper.
Thanks.
Wait, Jonah, Kevin called out. I know that man. Kevin's instincts kicked into gear. He remembered the fierce rivalry from their epic clash days, where Kevin emerged victorious, relegating Hester to a distant position in the rankings. However, it seemed Hester's desperation to reach the upper realm had driven him to new heights, or depths, depending on one's perspective. Get ready, Kevin whispered to Jonah, eyeing Hester with suspicion. We've got company, and it's not the friendly kind. Kevin picked up a shiny rock and advanced forward. What are you going to do? Jonah asked. I don't have my skills, but the two of us should be able to overpower him and get answers, Kevin replied. Are you ready to fight? Jonah shook his head nervously. I'm just a dancer, but I'll do what I can. Kevin nodded in thanks, and two men inched forward, closer and closer to the threat, ready to do battle for the freedom of the upper realm. Kevin reached the upper realm, but was stunned to find he was no longer a level 7 fighter. His levels had been stripped away, leaving him practically defenseless. An unknown evil was causing chaos in the upper realm and was threatening its very existence. Kevin teamed up with his new friend Jonah, and together the two set off to find this unknown evil and destroy it. As they searched the upper realm for clues, Kevin spotted a former rival, Hester Crone, and realized that he must be the interloper they'd been searching for. With his skills diminished, Kevin knew it wouldn't be a fair fight, but he had no other choice. It was time to battle. Kevin took in Hester Crone standing within a crowd of people gathering by a bubbling brook. Kevin wondered how Hester had gained access to the upper realm. The last time Kevin had seen him was when he had defeated Hester during the epic clash. Hester had a bad temper and hated being told he was wrong. Kevin turned to Jonah. That man, I know him. He's got to be the one causing all this chaos in the upper realm. Jonah's eyes went wide. What do we do? Kevin was in a weakened state. His levels had been taken. He was just a man, but he knew the difference between right and wrong, which meant there was only one thing for him to do. His gaze hardened. We fight. With Jonah following nervously behind, Kevin walked up to his former rival and called out, Hester Crone, this ends now. Hester turned and stared at Kevin for a prolonged beat. Are you talking to me? Hester asked, genuinely confused. Kevin doubled down. Don't play coy. I remember you from the epic clash. I know it's you who threatens the upper realm, but I won't let you win. Hester turned to the person next to him. I think he's talking to you. Kevin shook his head as his frustration grew and his heart filled with anger. No, Hester. I'm talking to you. Is my name Hester? Hester replied, a look of genuine confusion on his face. If that's the case, I apologize. I don't seem to remember you, my friend, or me for that matter. What's an epic clash? Kevin stepped back, baffled by his former adversary's blank demeanor. What happened to you, Hester? Kevin wondered aloud. Jonah approached. He's just like all the others. His mind is too calm. Everyone has a bad case of the super chills. Hester wasn't the villain Kevin had been searching for, he was just another victim. Hester seemed embarrassed. I'm sorry for any confusion. Do you want to go play with the butterflies with me? Kevin didn't know what to say. No, that's all right. Hester nodded in understanding and then ran off with his friends to go chase the pretty butterflies. Kevin took in the scene, baffled. They've all become these serene, forgetful beings. Jonah nodded in agreement, a furrow of concern creasing his brow. Yes, it's bizarre. The upper realm used to be about growth, mastery, and pushing our limits. Now it's like we're living in a perpetual dream, unaware of the world we left behind. Kevin couldn't shake the feeling that the upper realm's essence, its purpose, had been hijacked by an unseen force. He looked around at the tranquil residence, once vibrant and striving for excellence, now lost in a blissful utopian fog. We need to find out what's causing this and how to reverse it, Kevin declared with a newfound determination in his eyes. The upper realm had become a distorted reflection of its former self, and Kevin was determined to uncover the truth behind this surreal transformation. With Jonah at his side, Kevin embarked on a journey to unravel the mystery and restore the equilibrium that had been disrupted in the ethereal arena of learning. As Kevin and Jonah continued their search, Jonah became curious. Kevin, how did you get to the upper realm? The same way as everyone else, I assume, Kevin offered. I realized that the way to the upper realm was to journey deep inside one's own self. No, I know that, Jonah offered. But my friend, she traveled back to the real world to warn everyone not to come here. Who's your friend? Kevin probed. Jonah's expression sank. Her name was Beatrice. We got here right around the same time, and when we realized what was happening, she decided to go back and warn others not to come here because they would get stuck, even though Beatrice knew it meant she might go mad in the process. I was hoping that wasn't the case. Kevin suddenly understood. I met Beatrice. That got Jonah's attention. You did? Kevin nodded. In the real world. She did try to warn me not to come here. What? Jonah didn't understand. Then why didn't you listen? Kevin considered his next words carefully. She was off, he said slowly and firmly. Off? Jonah repeated. What does that mean? The last time I saw Beatrice, she was a fierce archer determined to become a master. Kevin sighed. When I saw her, she was living in an assisted care facility. She was physically and mentally unwell. I went to speak with her regarding the upper realm and she tried to fight me. We battled. At the time, I thought she was crazy, just another threat. But now I realize she was trying to help. She kept saying, I can't let you go there. I can't let anyone else go there. I didn't understand at the time, but now... Kevin's words drifted off. Jonah's heart sank. That's what I was afraid of, Jonah noted. She knew the risks, but she still went back hoping it would do some good. She was very brave, Kevin offered. But what was the point? Jonah retorted. What is the point of any of this? It's hopeless. It's not, Kevin countered. We're going to stop whatever is happening here and make things right. The upper realm will go back to normal and we'll both become masters. Jonah's head continued to hang low. I wish I had your optimism, Kevin, but let me ask you this. If you had known then what you know now, would you have even come here? Absolutely, Kevin replied. No matter what the danger, I was always going to come. But that's madness, Jonah pushed back. Why would you risk it? The reward is worth the risk, Kevin offered. Grave threats wait in the real world. I have to defeat the pinnacle and save my wife and children, and to do that I have to become a true master. I know things are in chaos here, but that's not an excuse. We have to fix the upper realm and fulfill our destinies. Determination flared in Kevin's eyes as he considered the gravity of the situation. Beatrice's escape painted a grim picture of the upper realm, and Kevin knew he had to confront whatever malevolent force lurked behind the veil of peace and calm. As Kevin and Jonah traversed the serene landscape of the upper realm, the air seemed to hum with an unusual tranquility. Butterflies flitted about, their delicate wings creating a rising dance. The picturesque scene belied the underlying disquiet that Kevin felt, knowing that something was amiss. What are we missing? Kevin wondered aloud. I don't know, responded grimly. For months I've been... Before he could finish the thought, Jonah became distracted once again. He ran over and stared at a large green leaf hanging from a tree. Oh my! What a pretty leaf! Kevin shook his head at the sudden change. He stepped over and squeezed Jonah's shoulder hard. The ballet dancer snapped out of it. What? What happened? Jonah asked. You became distracted and simple again, Kevin explained. Jonah's expression turned to panic. That's happening more and more often, Jonah paced, his anxiety growing at the thought. We're running out of time. Pretty soon I won't be able to help you. I'll just be a serene zombie like the rest, and then what? Why would someone do this? Kevin looked Jonah right in the eye. That's what we're going to find out. As he navigated the ethereal landscape with Jonah by his side, Kevin's mind raced with possibilities. Where should they look next? Who could be the threat? How was it all connected? As they continued forward, Kevin couldn't shake the image of the ivory tower. Its glow, which was surrounded by bright flowers and blackened water. Who was the woman? Kevin asked. What woman? Jonah replied. When I first came here, everything seemed so peaceful, Kevin recounted. But then I heard a scream and I saw a person, I think it was a woman, falling from the ivory tower. That's what first led me to Elohi. Jonah frowned in confusion. I don't know who that woman was, but I've never seen anything like that here. Kevin suddenly realized the truth. The screaming woman must have something to do with the chaos in the upper realm. But exactly how, Kevin wasn't sure. Kevin and Jonah didn't need to venture out any further into the upper realm. They needed to go back the way they came to the ivory tower to get their answers. As Jonah showed Kevin the upper realm, Kevin saw Hester Crone, an old enemy from the epic clash. But Hester, now overcome with a blissful simplicity, didn't remember the clash or his tension with Kevin. Kevin learns that Jonah was friends with Beatrice, the insane woman Kevin met who warned him of the chaos in the upper realm. Chaos that Kevin now thinks must be related to the woman he saw falling from Elohi's ivory tower. Kevin and Jonah race back towards the ivory tower. Approaching the moat of blackened seawater where the drawbridge had once provided easy passage, Kevin and Jonah now faced a gap that seemed wider and more treacherous than before. Kevin hesitated. We're going to have to jump. Can you make it? Jonah asked. Kevin wondered as well. In the real world, this wouldn't be a problem, but here everything seems harder for me. I don't have my levels, I don't have my power pills, but I can still try. I'll go first, Jonah offered. Jonah, true to his balletic prowess, leapt across the moat with a grace that seemed to defy the laws of physics. As he landed on the other side, he turned to witness Kevin's attempt. You can do it, Kevin, Jonah exclaimed. Kevin took a deep breath, summoning the strength needed for the jump. However, the weakened state he experienced in the upper realm became apparent as he barely cleared the gap. A moment of uncertainty lingered in the air as he stumbled upon landing, a stark contrast to Jonah's seamless performance. Are you okay, Kevin? Jonah asked with concern etched across his face. Yeah, just not as nimble as I used to be in this realm, Kevin admitted, feeling the weight of his limitations. The disparity in their abilities hinted at the challenges that lay ahead. The two pressed on, ascending the tower. Kevin found Elohi in the same state of unconsciousness. We have to help, Kevin explained to Jonah. Kevin still didn't have a satchel, so the best he could do was offer her some spring water that Jonah had been carrying. The cool water hit Alohi's lips and her eyes reopened. She was awake. A few moments later, Alohi was back on her feet to speak. She confirmed to Kevin what Jonah had already told him. There is a great tumult in the upper realm. An interloper has gained into this world with evil intentions and has thrown the tranquility of our world into chaos. Kevin found himself angered at the suggestion. Then why would the Night King push me to come here? Alohi did her best to calm him. You were going to come no matter what, but the Night King knows what I know. You, Kevin Williams, are the only one who can save us. Me, Kevin replied. You must find the interloper and face that person. Alohi added. Kevin shook his head. I don't think I can. I don't have my levels. I don't have my dagger or my satchel. I'm just a man. Alohi's gaze held a profound understanding as Kevin confessed his lack of tools and abilities that had defined him in the past. She nodded gently, acknowledging the weight of the situation. Kevin, the essence of your strength lies not in external weapons and potions, but within your spirit, Alohi said, her words carrying a reassurance that transcended the physical realm. The connection you share with the upper realm is intrinsic, and it will guide you. Embrace the power within, for it is resilient and unyielding. Kevin took a deep breath, absorbing Alohi's wisdom. He had always relied on his levels, gadgets, and his trove of secret knowledge to navigate challenges. But now, stripped of those familiar aids, he found himself standing on the precipice of a new journey. I get it. It's time to tap into something deeper, Kevin replied, determination flickering in his eyes. I'll find this interloper and restore the balance. I just wish I still had some of my gear. Alohi's smile radiated warmth. Trust in the core of your being, and you will discover capabilities beyond what you thought possible. The upper realm believes in you, Kevin Williams, as do I. Kevin still seemed unsure. Alohi suddenly grinned. However, desperate times indeed call for desperate measures, and exceptions must be made to safeguard the very fabric of our existence. Kevin frowned in confusion. What are you saying? If you need your levels and your satchel and your dagger, then those things shall be granted back to you, Alohi replied. But I can't judge them to you. What do I have to do? Kevin asked. He was excited by the opportunity, but worried about what might be asked of him to regain these items. Alohi began to circle. This tower is surrounded by the blackened sea of possibility. The sea of possibility? Jonah repeated curiously. Alohi nodded. It can take you anywhere. Where you need to be or where you shouldn't be. To the highest heights or the lowest lows. There's no certainty to it. But I'm telling you that you need to climb to the top of this tower and jump in, no matter the outcome. But if I can't be sure where it'll take me, Kevin countered, what if I jump in and end up in some pit of snakes or trapped in a cave? How does that help any of us? It's all about having the courage to take that first step, Kevin, Alohi responded, even when you're not sure of the outcome. As Kevin contemplated his next move, the ground again began to shake. Another earthquake. The upper realm was literally being torn apart. Alohi, connected to the realm again, fell to the ground. Jonah ran over. She is unconscious again. What do we do? Kevin suddenly realized the truth. There's only one thing we can do. I'm going to have to jump. Alohi's words echoed in the cavernous chamber, resonating with an otherworldly wisdom that seemed to dance on the edge of understanding. The steps to the top of the ivory tower seemed to stretch into infinity, each ascent a reminder of the weighty responsibility Kevin bore. As he climbed, he sought to center his thoughts and anchor his resolve. Memories of Lily's radiant smile, the mission of the Foundation, and the anticipation of their unborn twins filled his mind. These thoughts became his emotional compass, guiding him toward the noble purpose that fueled his journey. Upon reaching the summit, Kevin stood before a towering door. its surface adorned with symbols that shimmered with ethereal light. The door seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat, an invitation to unveil the mysteries that awaited beyond. With a steadying breath, he pushed it open. 50 stories above the sea of possibility, the panoramic view stretched out before him. The dark waters, swirling with enigmatic currents, seemed to hold the essence of countless destinies. A leap of faith into the unknown awaited him, a choice that would determine the course of his venture. As Kevin stood warily on the precipice, he allowed the echoes of his purpose resonate within. Lily's unwavering support, the Foundation's mission to protect and uplift, and the imminent arrival of their twins intertwined to create a profound source of strength. With a resolute nod, Kevin took the leap, descending into the sea of possibility with a profound trust in the purpose that fueled his journey. As Kevin contemplated the decision before him, memories of his past trials surfaced. His battles in the epic clash, the confrontation with Beatrice, and the eerie encounter with the Night King played like vivid specters in his mind. Each experience had shaped him, preparing him for the enigmatic challenges of the upper realm. Kevin felt a surge of determination coursing through him. I've faced the unknown before. I've navigated realms beyond imagination. If this sea holds the key to understanding and restoring balance, then I'll take the plunge. His steps measured and purposeful, Kevin approached the edge of the platform. The sea of possibilities sprawled below, its surface shrouded in an otherworldly mist. The unknown beckoned, and Kevin braced himself for the impending leap. Kevin closed his eyes and whispered out into the universe, "I love you, Lily." With resolute determination, Kevin leapt off the tower. The descent became a surreal free-fall through a fluid dimension, where time and space were interwoven in intricate patterns. Kevin's mind became a canvas for introspection, the layers of his consciousness unraveling as he delved deeper into the sea. The emotional currents carried him through reflections of his past, present, and the enigmatic future that awaited him. In the ebb and flow of the sea of possibility, Kevin embraced the uncertainty, recognizing it as the trial where resilience and determination were forged. As he traversed the watery expanse, the echoes of his purpose reverberated louder, becoming a beacon of clarity amid the shifting tides. The journey through this metaphysical sea became a pilgrimage, a rite of passage that transcended the boundaries of the known. In the depths of the sea of possibility, Kevin embraced the myriad possibilities that danced around him, knowing that the answers he sought were woven into the tapestry of the upper realm. Deep within the darkened water, Kevin again closed his eyes, knowing that wherever he was taken would be where he was supposed to be.
Spike down A.
With the upper realm in a state of chaos, Kevin and his new friend Jonah journeyed to the Ivory Tower to try and get more information from Elohi, the mystical leader of the realm. Elohi explained that an interloper was causing the upper realm to be thrown out of sync, and only Kevin could stop the realm from tearing itself apart. Kevin worried that he wouldn't be able to save the upper realm because he had recently lost his levels, lost his satchel, and lost his night dagger. Elohi told Kevin that he could recover all of those things, but first he would have to jump into the blackened sea of possibility. Kevin mustered his courage and jumped in. As Kevin sank into the blackened sea of possibility, he found himself ensnared by multiple strong currents that tugged at him from every conceivable angle. The liquid darkness churned with unpredictable force and threatened to pull him in different directions. Kevin struggled against the relentless undertow, a battle against the unseen forces that sought to challenge his resolve. The shadows of the sea embraced him, and Kevin felt the weight of the unknown pressing upon him. The currents, like malevolent spirits, seemed to have a will of their own, each vying for control over the intruder within their churning dark waters. In the swirling vortex, Kevin grappled with the disorienting pull, his every muscle strained as he fought against the relentless undertow. "I don't know if I can do this," Kevin worried to himself, but his resolve firmed. His hands balled into fists. "No, I have to go the distance, for Lily." Holding his breath, Kevin clung to the fragments of certainty that had guided him this far. The memories of Lily's warmth, the crucial mission of saving the Foundation, and the imminent arrival of their twins became his anchor amid the tumultuous waters. With determination etched across his face, he resisted the chaotic forces threatening to unravel his purpose. In the throes of the watery turbulence, Kevin tapped into a reservoir of inner fortitude. Each surge of the currents became a testament to his unwavering resolve. His quest for equilibrium mirrored the broader struggle within the upper realm, where chaos threatened the delicate balance that sustained its existence. As he endured the relentless currents, Kevin held on to the purpose that had brought him here. But then, suddenly, the blackened sea began to change form. The darkness ahead shaped itself into something new and truly extraordinary. Within the mysterious depths of the Sea of Possibility, Kevin found himself immersed in a cascade of visions, each offering a glimpse into his potential future. Amid the currents, Kevin saw a triumphant scenario unfolding before him. The familiar skyline of Hollywood sprawled now before him, crowned by the iconic sign that bore his family name. The Hollywood sign? Kevin thought. I'm back in Hollywood, California. An expansive office complex materialized beneath the looming letters, a testament to the success of his endeavors in the entertainment industry. The colossal structure proudly proclaimed itself as Williams Pictures. In this future, the once humble beginnings of Williams Media had burgeoned into an ever-great empire, encompassing a vast expanse of cinematic creativity. The Williams sign, standing just below the only slightly larger Hollywood sign, bore witness to Kevin's journey from Chicago to the top of the film industry. A new current pulled Kevin in a different direction. Kevin was given a second vision, this time of a future where his scientific prowess transcended conventional boundaries. As the waves of potentialities carried him forward, he found himself standing before the distinguished audience in the Grand Hall of Oslo, bathed in a radiant glow as the Nobel Prize in Chemistry was being awarded. What's this? Kevin wondered to himself as he took in the scene. The Nobel Prize? Kevin watched as a slightly older version of himself approached the podium with humility and gratitude, his eyes reflecting the weight of a profound achievement. The hushed anticipation of the audience created a palpable energy, and Kevin, now a beacon of scientific brilliance, began to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the Nobel Committee and fellow advocates for the pursuit of knowledge. Kevin's voice resonated with quiet confidence. I stand before you today not as a solitary figure, but as a representative of the collective spirit of countless researchers, physicians, and individuals who have dedicated their lives to the relentless pursuit of understanding. As he spoke, the hall echoed with the applause of a captivated audience, the collective acknowledgement of a scientific luminary whose work had reshaped the landscape of medical discovery. Kevin's Nobel speech became a harmonious blend of eloquence and humility, weaving together the narrative of a shared endeavor that transcended the boundaries of conventional science. In the trials and tests of our endeavors, I discovered not just one, but two groundbreaking rules for Kevin declared, his words carrying the weight of profound accomplishment. Our journey was marked by moments of brilliance, setbacks that only fueled our determination, and the unwavering belief that science, compassion, and innovation could redefine the possibilities of healing. The Sea of Possibility embraced Kevin's vision, projecting an image of a future where the boundaries of scientific achievement knew no limits. In this surreal tapestry, the Nobel Prize for Chemistry became a symbol not only of Kevin's personal triumph, but also of the transformative impact one individual could have on the course of human history. A new current pulled Kevin away from the Nobel Conference. As if the waves were the brushstrokes of destiny, Kevin found himself immersed in a vision of profound familial joy. Amidst the gentle undulations of the sea, a scene unfolded. Kevin and Lily, bathed in the soft glow of happiness, cradling not only their twins, but also a new addition to their burgeoning family. The ethereal vision portrayed Lily as radiant with the glow of motherhood, her smile mirroring the boundless love that enveloped the growing Williams family. In this surreal realm, the laughter of children echoed like melodic notes, intertwining with the sweet lullabies of a future yet to unfold. The twins, symbols of resilience and hope, were now joined by another life waiting to blossom, a testament to the enduring legacy of love and commitment shared by Kevin and Lily. The Sea of Possibility, acting as a cosmic storyteller, illustrated a future where the Williams family continued to flourish, their journey marked by the timeless bonds that transcended the boundaries of time and space. As the vision unfolded, Kevin felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and contentment. The Sea of Possibility, in enigmatic ways, had granted him a glimpse into a future where the harmonious melody of family life resonated with unwavering warmth and unity. But just as Kevin began to lose himself in the joyous sight, he was pulled away yet again. This time the currents dragged deeper and deeper, the darkness turning to endless black. In the murky depths of the Sea of Possibility, the currents of potentiality became a tumultuous whirlpool, unveiling a dualistic tapestry of Kevin's destiny. As Kevin swam through the contrasting visions, the waters churned with both the brilliance of triumph and the shadows of impending doom. The first foreboding vision unfolded in a grim tableau. The Hollywood sign, a symbol of aspiration, crashed down onto the Williams Pictures office complex. The deafening collision echoed the demise of dreams as the colossal structure crumbled, leaving nothing but ruin in its wake. The vision bore witness to the catastrophic collapse of Kevin's professional empire, a sight that sent shivers through the very fabric of his being. No, Kevin thought. The Sea of Possibility, an unforgiving fortune teller, then projected a distorted version of Kevin's Nobel Prize acceptance. In this nightmarish twist, the cure for cancer, once hailed as a beacon of hope, metamorphosed into a cruel paradox. Instead of healing, it inflicted a malignant resurgence in the very cancer it was to cure, casting a shadow over Kevin's scientific legacy. That won't happen, Kevin pushed back. The final vision plunged Kevin into a graveyard, a realm of eerie silence where tombstones bore the name Williams. As he wandered through the solemn expanse, a heart-wrenching revelation emerged. Lily, the beacon of his life, faced a pregnancy emergency. The chilling sight of the gravestones hinted at a future marred by profound loss and the anguish of unfulfilled promises. Struggling against the relentless currents, Kevin grappled with the stark duality presented by the Sea of Possibility. The juxtaposition of triumph and tragedy unfolded like a cosmic tug-of-war, each vision vying for dominance in the enigmatic depths. The sea, ever surprising, continued its unpredictable dance, offering glimpses of both glory and despair, leaving Kevin suspended in a space between the realms of hope and fear. The Sea of Possibility, a tumultuous arena of dreams and nightmares, continued to assail Kevin with its relentless visions. Faced with the disheartening futures laid out before him, Kevin summoned a newfound determination. Braving the churning waters, he swam with a firm resolve, determined to shape his destiny rather than give in to the whims of fate. As Kevin dove deeper into the abyss, the darkness seemed to intensify, mirroring the weight of the impending choices he would have to make. The sea, a swirling canvas of potentialities, responded to his resolve with a surge of conflicting images. Triumphant scenes of success mingled with haunting glimpses of disaster, creating a disorienting tapestry of uncertainty. With each stroke, Kevin pushed himself beyond the limits of endurance. The sea's currents, once chaotic and capricious, now seemed to relent, as if acknowledging his steely determination. However, Kevin's mortal lungs reached their threshold, and the struggle for breath became unbearable. In a final act of defiance, Kevin propelled himself deeper, defying the relentless pull of the sea. The world around him blurred, and the whispers of ominous futures echoed in his mind. As darkness closed in, Kevin's consciousness waned, and the weight of the visions bore down on him. In the throes of unconsciousness, Kevin relinquished himself to the fathomless depths, the sea cradling him in its enigmatic embrace. Whether this plunge marked the end or the beginning, only the currents of the Sea of Possibility knew, and they carried Kevin into the realm of uncertainty. Kevin knew he had to save the upper realm, but soon realized that he no longer had his levels. The herbs in his special satchel had turned to dust, and his Night Dagger, a gift from the Night King, was gone. It seemed that in the upper realm, Kevin Williams was just an ordinary man.
30 seconds
To
left.
regain his powers, Kevin was told he would have to jump into the Sea of Possibility and face many challenges armed only with his wit and will to win. The churning waters offered Kevin two visions of his future, one filled with success and happiness, and the other rife with sadness and failure. The images only further Kevin's resolve. Kevin dove through the last of the crashing waves before finally being thrown out of the water and onto a cool, flat surface. He was on land, but the land felt strange. It wasn't sand or stone, it was something different. Blinking away the disorientation of the Sea of Possibility, Kevin looked around to find himself in an awe-inspiring dreamscape. The surroundings were fluid, a kaleidoscope of shifting colors and shapes that defied the constraints of reality. What is this place? Kevin wondered to himself with concern. As the dreamlike landscape settled into coherence, Kevin noticed a silhouette emerging from the shadows. Kevin's eyes went wide as he realized who it was. The Night King, whispered. Cloaked in murky wisps of darkness, the Night King exuded an aura of ancient wisdom and inscrutable powers. His eyes, pools of infinite white nothing, regarded Kevin with a knowing gaze. Kevin Williams, intoned the Night King, his voice like a melodic trumpet that seemed to reverberate within Kevin's very soul. You navigated the turbulent currents of the Sea of Possibility, a test of courage and resolve. It is as we anticipated. Your essence holds the resilience required to weather the storms that have settled over the upper realm. As the Night King spoke, the dreamscape responded, shifting and undulating in a dance of colors that mirrored Kevin's success. The air itself seemed to vibrate with an otherworldly energy. Kevin took it all in as the Night King continued. You have journeyed far to stand before me now. What is it you seek? Kevin, steadying himself, faced the Night King with determination. Answers, Kevin stated simply and strongly. Indeed. Before you await the threshold of revelation, the Night King explained, his enigmatic presence commanding attention. Now, heed the path that unfolds before you, and embrace the destiny that is to be yours. What destiny? Kevin pushed back. The upper realm is in turmoil, and an interloper threatens its very existence. I can't become a master. I need to find this interloper and destroy that person, but I don't have my levels. I'm defenseless. The Night King, shrouded in enigma, gestured for Kevin to approach. Balance is delicate, Kevin Williams. The interloper you speak of has disrupted the equilibrium, sending ripples across the fabric of the upper realm, testing the boundaries of joy and fear. As Kevin absorbed the cryptic advice, the dreamscape shimmered, revealing glimpses of Kevin's own memories, fears, and aspirations. The Night King's voice echoed in the ethereal space. You, Kevin, the key to restoring harmony. Your journey is intertwined with the fate of the upper realm. Embrace the challenges ahead, for only through adversity can true mastery be attained. I understand adversity, Kevin replied, but fighting without my levels is a fool's errand. I can't win if I don't have my skills or my satchel of herbs or my Night Dagger. The Night King smiled. If these are the things you require to win, then they shall be provided. The Night King reached into his flowing robe and pulled out the Night Dagger. In the otherworldly chamber of the Night King's lair, Kevin stared in disbelief at the sight of his weapon. You had it this whole time? The Night Dagger is a tool of cosmic power, the Night King intoned, his voice echoing through the mystical realm. It's yours to wield once again, Kevin Williams, if you can take it from me. The Night King extended the Night Dagger out toward Kevin. In the surreal dreamscape, the Night King's challenge echoed through the cosmic air. Kevin hesitated. Kevin looked around to make sure there were no other possible threats, then refocused on the Night King in front of him. Hopefully this was going to be easy. Kevin stepped forward to try and take hold of the weapon, but as he did, the colorful walls of the dreamscape suddenly turned into reflective surfaces. 1,000 different mirrors showed the Night King in every possible position, in every possible location. But which one was the real one? Which one held the real dagger? I see, Kevin noted. A test. Kevin made a choice and stepped towards his weapon, but chose the wrong path and shattered a wall full of mirrors instead. The reflective surfaces seemed to dance with cosmic laughter, distorting the reality of the task at hand. Kevin's eyes darted around. There were dozens of Night Kings everywhere. Determined, Kevin stepped toward another Night King, his hand grasping only empty air. The mirrors played tricks on Kevin, presenting a series of Night Kings, each seemingly more elusive than the last. "What is this?" Kevin called out. "Why play games?" Frustration mounted as Kevin continued his attempt to reclaim the Night Dagger. The cosmic dance of mirrors turned the pursuit into a disorienting spectacle, a kaleidoscope of possibilities where reality and illusion intertwined. The Night King observed with a sly gaze, his form a constant amidst the mirrored chaos. "Perception is the key, Kevin Williams," the Night King reverberated. "The dagger awaits in the realm of truth, not the illusions that surround it. Trust your instincts, for in this cosmic dance, clarity arises from the core of understanding." Kevin considered what the Night King was saying. In a moment of clarity, Kevin settled his nerves. He closed his eyes, shutting out the myriad reflections that had perplexed him. Embracing the cosmic forces flowing within, he relied on his instincts and the subtle energies that guided him. With a profound trust in his own senses, Kevin turned slowly and calmly extended his hand one last time. As his fingers closed around the hilt of the Night Dagger, a surge of empowerment coursed through Kevin. He had done it! The room of mirrors shimmered and wavered, acknowledging the triumph of perception over illusion. Kevin had successfully navigated the cosmic dance, reclaiming the Night Dagger from the Night King's grasp. The Night King, a stoic figure in the flickering dreamscape, offered a subtle nod of approval. The chamber of mirrors faded away, leaving Kevin standing in the presence of the Night King, the Night Dagger now firmly back in Kevin's possession. "Well done, Kevin Williams," the Night King offered. "And all you had to do was trust yourself. The power was always there inside of you." The Night King's words hung in the cosmic air. Kevin, his grip firm on the Night Dagger, glanced at the enigmatic figure with anticipation and curiosity. "But it's not enough," Kevin replied. "The dagger helps, but I need my levels in my satchel." The Night King shook his head. "You still have so much to learn, Kevin Williams. So much still to learn." The Night King circled Kevin, looking him over. "You have more than enough already. But if you feel you still need your satchel, then your satchel shall be provided." At that moment, the dreamscape shimmered, revealing a faint silhouette of Kevin's cherished satchel in the distance. It was a repository of herbs and pills created by Kevin that had accompanied him through all the twists and turns of his interdimensional adventures, giving him extra healing abilities and added power. "Thank you," Kevin offered as he stepped back towards the satchel. But as Kevin took one step forward, the satchel moved one step back. Kevin took another step, the satchel moved further. Kevin turned back towards the Night King. More games? But the Night King was gone. Caught off guard, Kevin turned back to look at the satchel. He began to jog toward it, but as he jogged, the satchel continued to move further and further away. Kevin couldn't get any closer. Kevin began to run, racing across the dreamscape until he was almost totally out of breath. After what felt like an eternity, Kevin finally slowed to a stop. The satchel was further from his grasp than before. Kevin called out into the cosmos. "What do you want from me? Tell me what you want and I'll do it." As if answering his question, the ground beneath Kevin began to shake violently. Another earthquake? Kevin wondered aloud. Kevin had experienced similar tremors in the upper realm as part of the continued tumult there. Was this connected? As the floor continued to shake, Kevin suddenly realized that it wasn't an earthquake at all. The ground was shifting because the ground itself was alive. A whale! Kevin was standing atop an enormous glowing whale which now began its descent back into the blackened sea of possibility. Kevin was thrown back into the blackened water with no hope of salvation in sight. Kevin journeyed to the upper realm to become a true master, but soon discovered that his levels were gone, his night dagger was missing, and his satchel of herbs had turned to dust. Desperate to get his powers back, Kevin jumped into the sea of possibility and awaited whatever challenges lay ahead for him. Kevin first came upon the Night King inside a chaotic dreamscape and was able to get his night dagger. But before Kevin could get his satchel back, the ground beneath him began to rumble, revealing itself to be a massive glowing whale. Kevin was thrown back into the sea of possibility with no hope of salvation in sight. Kevin hit the water and plunged deep into its murky depths. As he tried to swim to the surface, Kevin found himself dragged back and forth once again by mighty currents. Kevin fought to reach the surface. The disorienting plunge back into the churning sea of possibility left Kevin gasping for air and a sense of direction. Which way do I go? How do I get back to land? Kevin inquired into the nothingness. How do I get back to anything? As Kevin found himself adrift in the darkened water, the Night King's disappearance left him with a profound sense of solitude. Why did he just disappear? Was this part of the challenge? Or had something more gone wrong in the upper realm? Kevin couldn't be sure. Just then, the colossal glowing whale Kevin had been standing on moments before swam nearby, its majestic form pulsating with a rhythmic luminosity. "So big," Kevin exclaimed, "and so bright." The whale continued to circle Kevin, but not in a predatory way. The massive beast seemed to be keeping watch over Kevin as he struggled to make his next move amid the sea of possibility. Kevin could sense the creature's aura. The beast had only good intentions. As the whale and Kevin attuned to each other's consciousness, an unspoken understanding unfolded. Though Kevin's levels had been taken, the intrinsic telepathic connection in the upper realm allowed him to communicate with most of the creatures around him, including this enormous glowing whale. In their silent dialogue, Kevin expressed his confusion, his cold and drifting state, and the profound sense of confusion he was feeling amid the endless blackened sea. "Hello, friend," Kevin thought. "This is a strange new world for me, and I'm not sure where to go or what to do. Can you help?" The giant glowing whale, a creature attuned to the currents of the cosmic sea, circled several more times to gain momentum, then raced towards Kevin with a purpose. With a graceful movement, the whale opened its mighty jaws and gently swallowed Kevin whole, enveloping him in a surreal aquatic cocoon. Inside the mouth of the whale, Kevin felt a strange warmth, a comforting embrace amidst the cosmic expanse. The whale responded telekinetically. "Don't worry. I'm not trying to eat you. This is to keep you safe and ensure quick travel." Feeling safe, Kevin made himself comfortable inside the soft, comforting tissues that made the mouth of the mighty beast. "Thank you," Kevin thought. "I appreciate the ride." Sometime later, Kevin found himself deposited on the sandy shores of a large, mysterious island drifting in the middle of the sea of possibility. Kevin took in his surroundings. The island, tropical in nature but shrouded in a softly throbbing glow, seemed to emanate a tranquility that echoed the essence of the upper realm. Kevin, standing on the shoreline, the significance of this unexpected journey. Was this part of the Night King's unspecified plan? Was it a test of resolve and intuition? Or was this just the easiest spot for the whale to drop Kevin off? "Hello," Kevin called out. There was no response. The island beckoned Kevin to explore its depths. Interesting, Kevin thought. Kevin turned back toward the whale still floating in the distance and waved in thanks. The whale leapt into the air in response, creating a massive wave upon its descent. Kevin couldn't help but smile at the sight. As he made his way deeper into the island, Kevin was astounded to find a tapestry of celestial vegetation and luminescent flora. Fascinating, Kevin whispered to himself. Despite the uncertainty, Kevin sensed an underlying purpose for being on this particular island, a thread woven into the mysterious fabric of the upper realm. He just wasn't sure what it could be. As he traversed the island's uneven terrain, Kevin's intuition guided him along with the silent guidance of the Night King that still lingered in the air. As Kevin continued his exploration of the mysterious island, the celestial glow illuminated his path. Amidst the cosmic tapestry, Kevin stumbled upon an unexpected sight. A solitary penguin, far from its icy Antarctic habitat, standing alone, on the tropical shores. What are you doing here? Kevin wondered aloud.
Enemy remaining.
The penguin, seemingly out of place in this celestial haven, appeared ailing and forlorn. Kevin, momentarily diverted from his quest, couldn't ignore the creature's distress. The little penguin's flipper was broken, a sight that was at odds with the island's surreal atmosphere. "You're hurt," Kevin observed. "That's not good." Though Kevin lacked his trusty satchel of herbs, the herbalist within him was undeterred. "Let's see what we can do for you, little guy," Kevin offered as he looked around for supplies. Determined to help the ailing penguin, Kevin decided to improvise. Using a piece of driftwood, Kevin fashioned a tiny wooden splint for the injured flipper, a makeshift remedy born of necessity. "There you go," Kevin offered. "Not a bad start, but I think we can do better." With the splint in place, Kevin turned his attention to creating an herbal pain medication for the penguin. Resourcefully, he gathered glowing coconut milk, extracted luminous venom from sea anemones, and collected gooey glowing seaweed, a peculiar mix of ingredients yet the best available in his cosmic oasis. "These work," Kevin considered, "but I need heat to merge the herbal compound."
Enemy remaining.
The night dagger, acting as both a source of light and a flint, sparked a small fire, casting an ethereal glow on Kevin's improvised workspace. In the dance of cosmic alchemy, Kevin meticulously prepared the herbal concoction. The soothing blend of coconut milk, sea anemone venom, and seaweed goo formed a medicinal elixir, a testament to Kevin's adaptability even in the absence of his beloved satchel. Carefully applying the herbal remedy to the penguin's injured flipper, Kevin hoped his makeshift treatment would alleviate the creature's pain and aid in its recovery. As he attended to the unlikely patient, Kevin marveled at the interconnectedness of the upper realm and the real world. The island, pulsating with celestial energy, bore witness to the healing touch of an earthly visitor. The penguin was sluggish at first, but began to move around with more and more energy. It flapped its wings over and over again. The herbal remedy was working. As the little penguin expressed its gratitude with a series of happy honks, it waddled toward the shoreline, ready to return to an icy home. However, before it plunged into the darkened waters, the penguin turned back and, with a series of distinct flipper motions, seemed to be directing Kevin's attention towards a particular spot on the island. "What is it, little guy?" Kevin inquired. "What are you trying to tell me?" Kevin turned to see where the penguin was pointing.
Spike down.
In the
B.
distance, a bright green light could be seen. Kevin just stared. How had he missed that before? Kevin was curious. Maybe he hadn't missed it. Maybe the light hadn't been there when he first reached the beach. With a silly splash, the penguin jumped into the water and Kevin waved goodbye to his new friend, wishing the animal the best. "Good luck," Kevin called out. Following the penguin's pointed guidance, Kevin stumbled upon a deep, sandy pit nestled within the celestial landscape. The pit had a luminous green glow at its center. Intrigued, Kevin made his way down to the base of the sands. Kevin looked around, making sure no threats were looming, and then he made his way to the bottom. As he peered into the green glow, Kevin's eyes widened as he discovered a sight that filled him with renewed hope: a replenished satchel of herbs. The cosmic energies of the upper realm seemed to weave their magic, providing Kevin with the tools he needed for his journey. The once depleted satchel, now brimming with herbs, represented a fortunate turn of events. "My satchel!" Kevin exclaimed. "All my herbs and pills. They're here. They're all here." With the penguin's unexpected assistance, Kevin's arsenal was restored, though he remained aware that the quest for his levels was still an impending challenge. Grasping the satchel, Kevin felt a surge of determination coursing through him. The cosmic island, with its mysteries and unexpected allies, had proven that even in the surreal tapestry of the upper realm, the journey held unexpected twists and turns. As he prepared to resume his quest, Kevin couldn't help but marvel at the interconnectedness of his celestial surroundings, knowing that each encounter carried significance in the grand scheme of his journey to the upper realm.
Enemy remaining.
Unsure of what the next step could be, Kevin raced to the shore to try and find his friend, the glowing whale, in the hope that he could bring him to the next chapter of his grand adventure.
"30 seconds left."
On.
Marked one.
symphony of death. Don't worry.
Kung magsismukan pa din pag-upan na ikon. Pinabalik sa
Smoke man di ko dati, bring manups. Mapatayak ko mapay duwad, G.
I'll show that brimstone true power.
Cover going out. You are powerless.
I win again.
Smoke's down.
Spike down B. Reloading.
Still inside.
Reloading. One enemy remaining.
Reloading. Spike spotted B. Reloading.
Flawless.
How did they sink this event? If you're not doing well, keep trying. We must keep up appearances.
sumukan naman.
No ko may dispam da kayo natayak ko.
Yung paliti ko naman.
Armo.
Teşekkürler. Thank you. Embarrass them.
Stay pabigay ka man. 5-0.
Cover going out.
Fire in the hole! Enemy A.
Okay. 74 jet. 40 brick.
Last player standing.
Ray dead.
Spike planted. Still in sight.
Ube.
I'll teach them to respect their elders.
Skin mo. Kurang naman.
They are so dead.
I need this.
Sayang di. Natay ko mati.
Shadows traveling.
Nakalak pa.
We found one. We found one. Two enemies A.
Spike down A.
Gago, nag-whiff ako sa TV.
Enemy A.
There.
Right here.
30 seconds left. One enemy
Enemy
remaining.
down. Bagged and tagged. My ult's ready.
Para.
Spike is safe.
They have courage, but no one is immune to fear.
Sukat ang ano.
Top naman.
Anyone feeling generous?
Gago. Op, op.
What do you need?
Dragon pro.
Dragon ko.
Right here.
In we go.
I've got cash. Anyone need something?
Get out of my way!
B.
Ada may sa dito.
Trap destroyed. Cover going out. Open up the sky. Sit still.
One enemy remaining. Flawless.
Spike is B. Keep hitting them like that, and this job is done.
Charles, natay ka?
Paano?
Blind mo.
Blinding.
Mid, mid, mid.
Fall back.
I know exactly where you are.
Fall back.
I have them.
Right here.
Bring them down.
Spike planted.
Prepare for hellfire.
Gotcha.
Bench.
Bring them down. Nightmare. Come on, please.
One enemy remaining.
Ay, B.
It seems these strangers want me dead.
I need this.
They're not so first.
Natay ka? Ay, hanggang. Natay ka ba?
Paano ka?
Natay ka? Alam na lang natay. Agaw pa. May lakong.
Laom.
Isugling.
I will rip the light from them. Cover going out.
Nabasa banday.
Shadows traveling.
Jet low.
Kita, asidig ka niya.
Last player standing.
Heaven, may.
One side, one here.
One enemy remaining.
68.
Thirty seconds left. 10 seconds left.
Ninja spike. Go ninja spike.
Clutch.
Who's the old dog now? Ollie!
Trust me, they will make mistakes. When they do, take advantage.
Oppo man. İdrak.
Anyone feeling generous? Teşekkürler. Thank you.
Skin. What?
Pamaliak kami ni Jimmy.
Let's go.
Sabali nagkarga GTP.
I will be their nightmare.
Does anyone have funds? Merci.
Shadows traveling.
Spike down B.
Wala akong tanong.
Bring them down.
110.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining. Last round in the half.
Halftime. Don't save a thing. I need this.
Need a drop. Thank you.
Does anyone have funds? Merci.
Cover going out. You are powerless. Can't use that. Right here. Launching smoke.
I know exactly where you are.
Spike planted.
Take hold.
Shadows.
I'll find you. Reloading.
Stim beacon here.
Last player standing. Switching sides.
They think they know pain. They can't begin to comprehend it.
Find you. Marked one.
Can't use that.
Enemy.
Cover going out.
Abi.
Let's go here.
Dulyo dito, dulyo. Papan BGE ka to mo. Heaven, heaven.
Shadows traveling.
Agdip day, agdip da.
One enemy remaining.
Heaven.
Think you can kill me?
They're just batteries. And I need a recharge.
Ikaw nga tumahaya. Tanga.
Reloading.
Does anyone have funds?
Cutting their vision. Where are we? Marked one.
Enemy spotted.
Reloading.
Can use that. Cover going out.
Enemy A.
Kung doon ka nakabit, pagod.
One enemy
No
remaining.
more meddling.
There they are.
I'll find you. Dreams are a funny thing. One little twist, and it all turns dark.
Kahit na bagsul ko ba din.
Need a drop.
Thank you.
Watch and learn.
Sniper.
Where are we? Enemy spotted. Marked one.
Smoke's down.
Bring them down. Bring them
Smoke
down.
man dito.
There.
Smoke
There.
man dito.
Spike down A.
Reloading.
Nice.
Last player standing.
Toaster is broken.
One enemy remaining.
That's three.
Damit lang dito.
I'm too far.
Then ako nakita.
That's a good spot.
Forma. Sayang.
Okay, which gun to pick this time?
Anyone feeling generous?
Save.
Just nagbay kami.
Where are you? Bring them down.
Reloading. Launching smoke.
Shadows traveling.
Bam. Weapon here.
Launching smoke. Reloading. Dim beacon here.
SMG camel gitu.
Go, go, go, go.
I'll find you.
Likod mo, likod. Likod mo din.
My ultimate is ready.
Dabay. Ay, smoke, smoke.
Shadows traveling.
Last player standing.
Ay, shit, may toss.
One enemy
Press on
remaining.
it. Did they really think they could scare me?
No.
Match point.
Their spirit is cracking.
Gago na, italbog
Now
niyo
shatter
yun.
it.
Marlin.
Rebound si ulo.
May tugtog na.
Their fears betrayed them.
so dead.
Cover going out.
Find you. Bring them down.
Fall back.
Bring them down. They're blind with fear.
Fall back. Fall back.
Cover going out. Stealing sight.
Mare, take them!
What?
Spike planted. My ult's ready.
Where are you?
Shadows traveling.
Open up the sky. Enemy spotted me.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
80 dito.
Ang gudu lang.
Strike at their weak points. If one link breaks, the rest will follow.
Go.
Skin mo, puro na mid.
I need this.
Nung nakatay ko JK ito,
Get out of my way!
Keep quiet. Keep quiet.
Where are you?
Enemy
Fire in the hole!
Gray's dead.
Nice.
They're blind with
Hindi,
fear.
may sa side. May sa heaven.
Watch them run.
Spike down A.
Need help.
Alam mo ito sa...
Last player standing.
Adi, again. Their fear is a track, and the track is fresh.
I'm saving.
Parang isa na ulo di.
Kasi. Status.
May sa...
I'm saving.
Coward, run. Shadows traveling.
Shotgun sa akin.
Smoke's down. Prepare for hellfire.
Shit,
Launching smoke. Launching smoke.
Still in sight.
Last player standing. Spike down A.
My city needs me. I can't be away for long.
Let's go here.
Let's end
Let's
this
go here.
quickly.
Have at him.
I'll find you.
Let's go here. Let's go here.
Mentally sighted na.
Cover going out.
I know exactly where you are.
Shadows traveling.
Spike planted.
Enemy spotted A.
Last player standing.
Reading kanubian ni Nigel. Reading na.
My smokes can block the enemy's line of sight. Once they're blind, we know. I'm saving.
Sivo.
I'm saving.
Snuff them out. You are powerless.
Nagultian na din.
Udah dito eh.
Is ka no?
Smoke's down.
Shadows traveling.
Orang ni dia kan.
Enemy B.
Spike down B. 30 seconds left.
Spike dropped.
Last player standing. 10 seconds left.
Spike planted. trained you.
Dapat pang udin ka.
Make their fear your weapon. Or use a gun. Whichever.
Together.
Cover going out.
Let's go here.
Enemy down.
Let's go here.
The mysteries.
Here.
Smoke.
Now we're cooking. My ult's ready. Open up the sky!
My ult is ready.
Smoke down.
Careful there.
Careful there. Launching smoke.
Careful there.
Bring them down.
There. That one's
Fire
dead.
in the hole!
One enemy
Taken
remaining.
down.
Last player standing.
Stim beacon down.
Open.
Molly!
Attackers win.
Never had a doubt.
Turun.